Chen Xiang had been trapped for almost 4 years, yet no one came to save him. This was completely out of Fire Divine Palace's expectations. Chen Xiang had been trapped for almost 4 years, yet no one came to save him. This was completely out of Fire Divine Palace's expectations. This was also where the Fire Divine Palace miscalculated, because they did not understand Chen Xiang. As long as one had an extremely good relations, Hi+P with Chen Xiang, they knew that if Chen Xiang was unable to escape, they would only drag Chen Xiang down even more and become hostages if they went to rescue him. Furthermore, he said that Chen Xiang was sealed inside, and could not absorb any spirit energy. As long as it took a long time, the resources carried with it would all be used up, and Chen Xiang's strength would be depleted to the point that he would have to publicly punish Chen Xiang. Of course, these words were said to scare those who had an extremely good relations, Hi+P with Chen Xiang, just so that these people could come and save Chen Xiang. But what Fire Divine Palace did not know was that Chen Xiang's friends all knew very well that this big spender pills could not die from exhaustion. Chen Xiang had been sealed by the Fire Divine Palace for almost 4 years, and that mysterious and powerful great clan elder had not appeared to save Chen Xiang yet. Therefore, at this moment, many powers believed that Chen Xiang would probably be sealed for a long period of time. The Chen Martial Continent was no longer a continent now because all the seas had disappeared, but this was how everyone in the new Imperial Heaven world called the land. Furthermore, this piece of land was also seen as the future divine land of Dtian, and there were rumors saying that there was a high possibility that a second dragon vein would be born in the Chen Martial Continent in the future. Chen Xiang knew that the Chen Martial Continent was not a simple place since long ago, otherwise these 4 symbols divine weapons would not have appeared in such a place. What was even more mysterious was that the mortal world where he was born in had suddenly disappeared, and it had not appeared even now. At first, Huang Jintian, Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu had all told him that they would return to that place. They clearly knew why the mortal world had disappeared, but they had never told him about it. Some people were preparing to attack Chen Martial Continent, and the news quickly spread. Some people intentionally leaked the news, to see how strong the Chen Martial Continent was. As for when the attack would be, there was no precise time. As long as it was not an abnormal immortal realm ranker like the Immortal Monarch, the pressure would not be too great on Chen Martial Continent, but the Chen Martial Continent had never had this kind of mentality. They imagined the intruder to be a very powerful person, and even planned out a few countermeasures. The leaders of the Chen Martial Continent did not need help from outsiders. Their originally powerful allies, Dragon Subduing School and Demon Charming Association, had declined rapidly due to the accident with their leader. He could not imagine that outside the villa that the profound Bing S had gathered 4 years ago, there was an old man looking at the huge building inside that had sealed Chen Xiang. This old man wore a conical hat and simple clothes. His eyes were listless. He looked extremely tired, as if he had been toiling for years. The situation isn't too bad, at least the old man inside the Fire Divine Palace still doesn't dare to make a move. Could it be that he is also afraid of Chen Xiang, this brat's assassination? The old man thought to himself as he shook his head and smiled. Suddenly, the old man's brows furrowed. He suddenly gathered a strong burst of spirit force and shot it towards the huge building that sealed Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang, how are you inside? Chen Xiang was in the middle of refining pills, when he suddenly heard this weak voice. You are. Chen Xiang was startled, and almost shouted out. Elder Duan, it's great that you're still alive. Chen Xiang said excitedly. The person he was talking to was precisely the Duan Chong who fell into the chaotic SPAC when he was teleported from the Heaven Thunder Purgatory. He was the patriarch of the Duan clan, Duan Sanchang's grandfather, and was also an extraordinary person. It was only after Duan Chong used his very strong divine sense that he could barely talk to Chen Xiang. Hee, you're so energetic, you should be living a happy life inside. It's not bad. Old man Duan, try your best to help me tell my friends, don't ever come to save me, and secretly tell them that the Fire Divine Palace will make their move 10 years from now. They want to rule over the entire D Tian at that time. Duan Chong's head hurt, he anxiously retracted his consciousness, because he had been attacked by the array formation. Furthermore, the voice that came from Chen Xiang was very weak, but he could hear it clearly. To be able to find the way back from the chaotic S.P. A.C., Duan Chong's strength must have increased, but with his current strength, he was unable to save Chen Xiang, so he could only give up and head to Dragon Subduing City. Elder Duan is still alive. Chen Xiang was very happy. Back then in the Heaven Thunder Purgatory, Duan Chong had helped him very much, but the reason he was able to obtain the G.O.D. Slain method was also because of Duan Chong. He believed that Duan Chong would definitely be able to go to the Dragon Subduing School. At that time, with such a strong expert there, he would definitely be able to be at ease. Duan Chong might even be able to call over the entire Duan clan, although the Duan clan was limited in number, but if they were to actually play, many ancient powers would fear them. The Duan clan was one of the few forces that had followed the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord, and surviving until now was not easy either. There's still 6 more years, hurry up and cultivate. Although the Qi Shindan is not bad, I feel that even if you refine 20,000 sets of Super Qi Shindan, you still won't be able to break through at that time. Su Meiyao said softly, little scoundrel, you should know that your elder sister Menger has been trapped in this stage for a very long time. Chen Xiang nodded. He could already feel how difficult it was to step into the 7 Nirvana tribulations, and he felt that his Nirvana doom would become even more terrifying when the time came. Sister Meiyao, what should I do now? Chen Xiang was at his wits' end. Although he had many high-leveled medicine ingredients, such as the holy-level dragon medicine, they were all medicine that he could not handle, and would torment him to death if he ate them. As for the heaven-level medicine, he would also need to refine them into a pill in order to release its effects. Although the effects were there, they were not obvious. Right now, it was not possible for him to learn how to refine heaven-level pills, unless he could master the multiple foreseeing alchemy well. Even if he did learn how to refine them, it would take a long time, so it was not suitable for his current environment. Su Meiyao thought for a moment, then said, Profound Bing, don't you have a lot of them? Last time, you only used a little of their powder to refine them, and almost destroyed a city, and those Profound Bing were all of poor quality. You now have so many high-quality Profound Bing. If you can successfully extract that miraculous power from them, then it might be even more effective than those Super Qi Shindan. It wasn't that Chen Xiang hadn't thought of it before, but he was worried that he would waste too much time on it. Little scoundrel, don't you still have 2 treasure chests? You should start researching those Profound Bing, not only to raise your cultivation through them, you should also replenish the energy in the Ice Dragon sword sheath and let you open those 2 treasure chests. Maybe there are things inside that treasure chests that can help you escape. Su Meiyao knew what Chen Xiang was worried about, because he was extremely tight on time and could not let it go to waste. If the 2 methods I mentioned before do not work, then there is only one way, and that is for you to fuse with all of the Chaos Fire token. I believe that at that time, you will not only possess the power to summon the 9 Heaven Devil Palace, but also increase your own strength. The Chaos Fire token was Chen Xiang's private box, and was also the only way Chen Xiang planned to use this to kill the Immortal King after going out. Therefore, he had never thought of fusing all of them together here, and it was very risky. Chen Xiang thought for a while, then said, No, there is a way out, but it might not work. I need a way that I have a lot of confidence that I can make it through. You have no other choice. You should understand that if you want to break through within 6 years and successfully cross the 7 nirvana tribulations, this is a better solution. Su Meiyao said. At that time, Su Meiyao could also clearly feel it, so she was very confident in being able to sense it. However, the premise was that Chen Xiang could still perfectly control the broken profound Bing and help Chen Xiang in breaking through the bottleneck. Chen Xiang possessed a large number of high-quality profound Bing. If he could refine a majority of them successfully, he would be able to unleash a very strong power. Chen Xiang possessed a large number of high-quality profound Bing. If he could refine a majority of them successfully, he would be able to unleash a very strong power. Previously, when he went through the philosophic stone, he could feel that the profound Bing contained extremely strong destructive power. If he could refine a large number of profound Bing into a pill and use it to attack, the destructive power would probably be able to make him leave this place. However, he was still inside. When the time came, he would have nowhere to hide from the explosive force, so this method would not work. He could only extract the purest power from the profound Bing S and refine them into edible pellets to increase his strength. Those people won't monitor you every day. They are very confident in this seal, so you don't need to worry about them spying on you. Long Shui said. She was also monitoring the place closely. If there were any other undulations, she could immediately feel them. If anyone else wanted to inspect the situation inside, they would have to send their consciousness inside. At that time, they would have to make the seal become weaker, and if they did that, they would be worried that Chen Xiang would use this chance to escape, so they had never monitored Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang took out the Gold Dragon Ice's ice crystal powder. That Gold Dragon Ice was not small, and had turned into a lot of powder. Moreover, the quality was very high. If it was refined into a pellet, it would be many times stronger than the one he refined in Heaven Thunder City last time. Right now, Chen Xiang did not dare to crazily refine too many profound Bing. If he could not control himself, he might fall into it. Don't move the Gold Dragon Ice first, put it aside for later. Chen Xiang did not use high-quality profound Bing powder to refine pills from the beginning, but instead used normal profound Bing first. He got some from the Sky Demon Pavilion, and now he put the profound Bing powder inside the Yanlong furnace, and then took out the philosophic stone powder. This way, he could use his own flames to burn the profound Bing powder, turning the powder into mist, and then merge it together. It was all because of the resonance between the profound Bing and itself. As for why Chen Xiang could not explain it, in short, the philosophic stone was extremely magical, and previously, it was also because of this philosophic stone that he was able to cultivate smoothly. When he injected the heaven fire, it was very easy to incinerate the profound Bing powder into a cloud of mist that emitted a strong light. However, the mist was very berserk. Inside the Yanlong furnace, it was like a demon in purgatory struggling, wanting to escape at any time. A faint golden light shot out from between Chen Xiang's eyebrows. A large amount of God power poured into the Yanlong furnace, forming 2 golden palms. In the blazing pill furnace, they started to rub the berserk profound Bing Qi, not letting it scatter around inside the furnace. At this time, the flames inside the Yanlong furnace were extremely strong. It was about the strongest flame that Chen Xiang could release, but after the profound Bing turned into mist, the temperature of the flames became very low. If Chen Xiang suddenly retracted the flames, the entire Yanlong furnace might even be frozen. As long as a large chunk of profound Bing was stimulated, it would turn into ice crystals that resembled grains of sand. However, after these ice crystals were stimulated by a large amount of strength, they were able to emit the special icy cold power inside them. There should be 2 types of power within the profound Bing. If I'm not wrong, one of them should be the grain force, and the other should be the powerful and pure energy. At this time, Long Shui was also using her consciousness to observe the situation inside the Yanlong furnace. Even though it was filled with ice-cold energy, she did not discover too much of it. What, there's grain force inside? Chen Xiang asked in surprise. The grain force was also known as the power of nature. According to what Long Shui had said, the grain force inside should be a type of spirit grain that was innately born with the ability to change the nature of energy. That's why this power is a little strange. It's not a natural power, but a pure power. But it's more powerful. Long Shui said. Back then, when he was crossing that powerful nirvana doom in the heaven thunder purgatory, a grain force had appeared, but Chen Xiang had devoured many of them and compressed them into his dantian. He had never had the chance to use them, and those grain force were also extremely precious, so he could not use them carelessly. If these profound being really did have grain force S, then they could extract them and obtain a lot of grain force S. These grain force S were priceless treasures, and even if placed in the heaven realm, they would be extremely expensive. You must use your strongest divine power to look inside those profound Bing granules. I think that the reason why they become granules when they shatter is very likely because every single granule has a natural icy spirit grain formed from grain force. It's only very small, and it's only in a small pellet of profound Bing. Although Long Shui was lazy to eat, she inherited the white dragon's memories. The large amount of memories she inherited came from her white dragon ancestors, so even without learning, she could still learn a lot of things. This was also the reason why a dragon with a memory inheritance was so powerful. Chen Xiang did as Long Shui said, carefully observing those very, very small profound Bing granules. He did this kind of thing quite often, but with his current abilities, there shouldn't be any difficulty in doing it. Previously, he had used this method to see the inner world of the Qi Shindan's medicine, and even established a connection with the spirit inside, allowing him to feel at ease while refining the Qi Shindan. These spirit grain were all trembling, and would release a certain amount of cold energy every time they trembled. On top of these spirit grain, Chen Xiang could also see a light purple gas mist curling around them. This purple gas mist was none other than the grain force. At this time, Chen Xiang was secretly impressed with Long Shui. He actually got hit with her words. If not for Long Shui, he might not have understood why these profound Bing were like this. In fact, Long Shui also only came to this conclusion after he had thoroughly investigated her. Not only can these spirit grain release the power of frost, they can also simulate anything that doesn't have frost power in their surroundings as long as it takes time to do so. Long Shui said, try and see if you can separate those grain force S. With so many profound Bing powder, if he had to do all of them, it would be very taxing on his brain. Fortunately, Chen Xiang's spirit cultivating had a strong divine soul and profound strength, which might be difficult for others to accomplish, but in Chen Xiang's eyes, it was not too difficult, it was just that it required a lot of time. Philosophic Stone comprehended the power of nature and comprehended 3,000 great Tao's. Grain force was also a natural power, so when he used Philosophic Stone, he could resonate with the profound Bing powder. When the profound Bing's powder was being burned by the flames, the grain force released the most intense vibrations and the cold qi was being released by the spirit grain, so the current icy cold power was extremely strong, but it was also beneficial for Chen Xiang to separate the grain force. The grain force was the source of the spirit grain that supported it to convert pure energy into ice energy. As long as the grain force was extracted, Chen Xiang would be able to obtain a large amount of pure energy. If the grain force was not separated and fused together, it would be a terrifying destructive ice seal dan that could be used to attack. It was much easier to figure out what was going to happen next. These profound Bing contained a lot of pure energy. If he could extract and refine them into profound Bing pellets, it would be much more efficient than refining Super Qi Shindan. To refine a Qi Shindan, it would also require a large amount of medicinal ingredients. It was a very time-consuming process. At this time, Chun Xiang added some high-quality profound Bing powder on top of the Yanlong furnace. He realized that amongst these high-quality profound Bing powder, the grain force was a little more, and the spirit grain was also a little longer. The contained pure energy was many times more than normal profound Bing, which made Chun Xiang very happy. Since it was only extracting high-quality and low-quality profound Bing S had the same workload, so he stopped refining those low-quality profound Bing powders and changed them all to refining high-quality ones. As for low-quality profound Bing powder, it was used to refine destructive ice seal Dan with strong attacks in the future. A few years ago, the divine weapon's heavenly country was once Hara.S. said by the devil race, and at that time, it was the two from the devil race that brought the members of the gold-armored sword sect and the ghost-killing school over, but they were all killed, and now that Chun Xiang had been sealed, the demon charming association retreated, and the divine weapon's heavenly country did not have any protection, but had many mines, which caused the divine weapon's heavenly country to be targeted. Once again. A few years ago, the divine weapon's heavenly country was once Hara.S. said by the devil race, and at that time, it was the two from the devil race that brought the members of the gold-armored sword sect and the ghost-killing school over, but they were all killed, and now that Chun Xiang had been sealed, the demon-charming association retreated, and the divine weapon's heavenly country did not have any protection, but had many mines, which caused the divine weapon's heavenly country to be targeted once again. The divine weapon's heavenly country and the icy wind valley were together, and the person in charge was two women, one was Chun Xiang's wife and the other was Chun Xiang. In the eyes of some people, no matter how strong or how talented these two women were, they were still women, and they were all very weak and would not be that strong. It was precisely because someone thought so that they would risk their lives to seize all the mines in divine weapon's heavenly country. As a result, the people who came to occupy the mines all thought that the other party had been scared off, and then called over a lot of elites to guard, and even mined a lot of resources. But just as they were feeling extremely proud, the divine weapon's heavenly country's people arrived, and the people who came were all powerful experts, and one of them was the legendary white-haired beauty. Lung Yulan was truly beautiful, able to topple cities and overthrow nations. However, when he killed people, he was like someone from H.E.L., incomparably savage. That kind of berserk attack caused people's hair to stand on end. As long as it was a power that had seized any mines in the divine weapon's heavenly country before, they would be settled eventually. Most of their sects would be exterminated, and the gold-armored sword sect was one of them. Not only that, the Super Martial School experienced this kind of thing too, and after that, the Super Martial School also used the same method of action as the divine weapon's heavenly country, which was to completely eliminate all of those powers. It was only then that many outside powers realized that the big sects above Chun Martial Continent had joined forces. As long as one side was bullied, they would not fight when they could not win, and would immediately run away, requesting for reinforcements from the other big sections. After quietly gathering all the strong warriors, they would go back and kill everyone. This way, many great powers were exterminated by the great powers of the Chun Martial Continent on fair and square grounds, and they were even robbed clean. Their movements were all very secretive, and no one would be able to see through them. As a result, those powers that attacked Chun Martial Continent, it was equivalent to facing off against multiple powerful forces, and not getting wiped out. With these previous examples, all the powers that wanted to attack Chun Martial Continent knew that if they wanted to take down Chun Martial Continent, they couldn't do so by themselves, because that would be like facing a huge monster, unless they joined hands. However, there were people secretly scheming, causing some of the powers to be at odds with each other, unable to join hands. There were even many forces that had started fighting, and this kind of good thing was obviously done by the Duan clan. Ever since Chun Xiang was sealed, the new imperial heaven world became extremely restless. Originally, the demons had been attacking the human realm, but many powers in the human realm were staring at the Chun martial continent, thus allowing the demons to take advantage of the opportunity and gradually expand the territory of the demon realm and the demon realm. Chun Xiang also guessed that it would be very chaotic outside, so he wanted to leave even more. He had already planned to stabilize his foundation with Di Tian in order to be able to safely ascend to Heaven Realm. If he wanted to make this place stable, he would have to first increase the strength of his dragon subduing school and the Chun martial continent, then he would have to kill off the demons inside the demon and devil realms. In 10 days, Chun Xiang would separate the grain force from the gold dragon ice's powder, and the separated grain force would enter his dantian. There was originally a grain force orb in his dantian, although he did not need it now. When he wants to set up a powerful array in the future, these grain force would H.I. plus NE brilliantly. Gold dragon ice were top-grade profound Bing. After the pure energy within was separated out, it was actually equivalent to a Qi Shin Dan refined from 5,000 sets of medicinal herbs. To have such an effect made Chun Xiang very satisfied, because he had quite a few of these profound Bing. He had not used a single one of the profound Bing he got from the Fire Divine Palace's warehouse. Fire Divine Palace, since you have already taken action against me, and even want to use my closest kin to threaten me, don't blame me. Chun Xiang was furious at the thought of this. He hated it when people threatened him the most, especially when people threatened his woman. The Fire Divine Palace had yet to do so, but he had already made this decision. It was just that the time was not here yet, and the immortal king in charge of the Fire Divine Palace was extremely patient. He had to wait 10 years before he could confirm that no one really came to save Chun Xiang. If no one came to his rescue during these past 10 years and the seal did not have any movement, then it was time for him to make his move. Chun Xiang knew that the most important thing the Fire Divine Palace was doing was reviving that Ice Emperor, and Chun Xiang found out from LV Qinlian that the Ice Emperor was not a good person, so he decided that if there were no other urgent matters, he would immediately head to the profound cold ancient realm to destroy that Ice Emperor, or else he would not be able to resolve the hatred in his heart. The profound Bing pellet was pure white, and although the name Chun Xiang's Qi was profound Bing pellet, it did not contain a very strong freezing energy, only a weak cold Qi. The profound Bing core in Chun Xiang's palm was refined from that large piece of gold dragon ice powder, and this was equivalent to the sum of the 5,000 sets of Qi Shin Dan medicinal ingredients used to refine it. After eating the profound Bing pills here, Chun Xiang began to refine them. What made him happy was that for some reason, the profound Bing pills were refined very easily, and entered his dantian very naturally, entering the 5-beast statue S to condense the core embryos. Oh right, this pure energy has been influenced by the grain force, and the grain force is also known as the power of nature. Over time, the energy in the profound Bing also became like this, possessing the spirituality of nature, thus I am able to cultivate so easily. Chun Xiang was very excited. He never thought that refining profound Bing would produce such a great harvest. At the moment he was full of confidence. If nothing unexpected happened and he successfully said through the heavenly tribulation, he felt that he could definitely get rid of this seal within 10 years. Year after year, Chun Xiang had been sealed for 8 years. In his eyes, he only felt that it was like he had stayed here for a few months, and that it had been 8 years without him realizing it. Furthermore, when he was refining pills, he would always fall into a crazy state, and wouldn't feel bored, and would always be in high spirit. In this period of time, he had already refined more than 800 profound Bing. One must know that many of these profound Bing were giant high-quality profound Bing S, and even though they all looked like exquisite ice sculptures, he did not pity them at all. At this time, he had already gathered a few more grain force S. Over the past few years, he had gathered enough grain force S to set up a huge defensive formation. There are still 2 years left. It would be best for you to leave earlier. Otherwise, when the time comes, something unexpected might happen, Long Shui warned. Although Duan Chong had returned, his strength was limited and his Chun martial continent was not small. If he was attacked by a few other strong forces that were similar to his own, then his Chun martial continent would definitely fall. If Chun Xiang left, as long as there was someone who could force the Fire Divine Palace's Immortal King to leave, he would have a way to weaken the Fire Divine Palace's power and even eliminate him. This was because the Fire Divine Palace was already angry at him, and he wished that he could let out all of the magical corruption gas and drunk G.O.D. powder at once. Of course, that was only a thought that came out of his anger, and that was undesirable. If it was discovered, his good days would come to an end, and he might even implicate many people. The core embryo of the Heaven Pill is almost complete. Eating these 10 high-quality profound Bing pills should be able to help me form the 7th core embryo in one go. All these years, it was only because the philosophic stone gave him guidance at the most critical time, allowing him to break through bottlenecks time and time again. What he was most worried about was whether the nirvana tribulation would arrive. If it did, what would happen? That was because he was currently in a very strong seal. In these few years, the Chun martial continent had been attacked a lot of times. Some were from the demon side, some were from the human realm, and some were allied together, but at most, they could only temporarily occupy a few minds and could not completely control them. In these 2 years in the new Imperial Heaven world, there were not many forces that could swallow the entire Chun martial continent in one go, and the Fire Divine Palace was one of them. In these few years, the Chun martial continent had been attacked a lot of times. Some were from the demon side, some were from the human realm, and some were allied together, but at most, they could only temporarily occupy a few minds and could not completely control them. In these 2 years in the new Imperial Heaven world, there were not many forces that could swallow the entire Chun martial continent in one go, and the Fire Divine Palace was one of them. They were worried that the mysterious great clan elder of the Dragon Subduing School, whose lifespan was 10 years, would appear. They believed that as long as the great clan elder of the Dragon Subduing School did not appear after sealing Chun Xiang for 10 years, they would be able to attack the Chun martial continent at ease. Before, Duan Chong had contacted him, and at that time, Chun Xiang would have him inform the Chun martial continent to prepare 10 years later. At that time, the Fire Divine Palace would attack. If everything goes well, I should be able to leave a year or half a year earlier. I hope everything goes well. Chun Xiang ate the profound Bing pellet in his hand. This was his last crazy attempt, and he had to condense the core of the 7th heaven pellet right this time. The energy that was as vast as the ocean surged inside his body, washed his tibia flesh, and was refined by him into an innate qi, which then flowed into his dantian, charging towards the pill embryo of the 7th heaven pellet inside the beast statue. Under the guidance of the philosophic stone, the innate qi would become extremely intelligent, following the natural Tao technique. It would continuously tap into Chun Xiang's potential, strengthening Chun Xiang's body, and developing the heaven pellet for him. Under normal circumstances, one would only be able to condense heaven pellets after surviving 9 nirvana tribulations, but Chun Xiang already had one long time ago, and it wasn't just one pellet, but every beast statue had many. For example, right now, he was condensing the 7th heaven pellet from every beast statue. Using this method, high-quality energy could be used to condense a divine pellet that could hold a large amount of the innate qi. If not for the help of the philosophic stone, Chun Xiang was still trying to comprehend how to guide the enormous innate qi to merge into the natural great way, to strengthen his own dantian. The 10 gigantic profound Bing S had refined an extremely high-quality profound Bing pellet. Chun Xiang, on the other hand, was only at the edge of breaking through. This made him a little excited, but at the moment, he only needed to wait for the arrival of Nirvana Tribulation 7. After going through the 7th tribulation, he would then obtain the mysterious and powerful power of giving, which could then be considered a true transformation. At the same time, it would also mean that he had stepped into the later stages of the nirvana stage, which was also the most difficult stage. Boom, boom, boom. He took out the hammer of God and crazily struck the invisible seal class HI+ing with the strong seal power. At this time, his power was much stronger than before. He wanted to try and shake the seal power, but it was useless as usual. What Chen Xiang did not know was that when the Fire Divine Palace sealed him, he summed that he was an immortal king, and used the powerful array disk that the Fire Divine Palace brought down from the Heaven Realm, as well as a large amount of resources. If Fire Divine Palace was unable to find a suitable amount of energy within a short period of time to use as resources for this sealing array, Fire Divine Palace would not be able to waste any more, because such a powerful seal would consume an astronomical amount of energy every hour. If the Fire Divine Palace had not thought that sealing Chen Xiang was worth it, they would not have done this, because it was equivalent to burning spar. In order to maintain this powerful seal, they had buried countless spar here. How come you're not here yet? I have a feeling that Nirvana Doom is coming. What will happen exactly? It had already been a few days since Chen Xiang refined the core embryo of the seventh heaven pellet, and he had a feeling that Nirvana Doom was about to arrive. However, he was currently sealed within this seal which was cut off from the world. He was worried that the Nirvana Doom would be affected because of this, and if he did not descend, he would not be able to break through. Unless you hide in the profound realm, it will be hard to escape. Especially to you, as an alchemist, the robbery power that appears will be very powerful, and if you can sense what you have, the robbery power will continue to increase, which requires a certain amount of time. Long Shui said. Chen Xiang sat there obediently as he waited. He really hoped that his seventh tribulation would be very strong, and it would be best if he could break this seal. Head, it's bad. A middle-aged man suddenly rushed into a luxurious study, shouting loudly with a panicked expression. What is it? Tell me. Hallmaster hastily asked, because this middle-aged man who suddenly rushed in was in charge of guarding that seal. There seems to be a problem with the array disk as it is frantically absorbing energy. The spar that we just transported over this morning was almost completely sucked dry in just an hour. Could it be that Chen Xiang had done something inside that it has never happened before? Hallmaster is an immortal king. He is extremely familiar with the array disks. He shook his head. It shouldn't have been Chen Xiang's fault. If he had that kind of ability, he would have done it already. He definitely wouldn't have waited this long. I'll go take a look first. Fire Divine Palace's palace mistress came to the outside of the seal. At this time, many people were busy placing many spar south into the designated place to replenish the energy of the formation plate and maintain a few powerful formations. This would allow the seal to become unbreakable. Outside the auction house that Chen Xiang was in, 2 stacked formation plates were spinning frantically in the air, absorbing many spar S that could sustain the seals. Those spar S were basically just put in, but in the blink of an eye they disappeared, turning into transparent mist and entering into the 2 formation plates. Not only were these 2 array disks absorbing energy, they were also frantically devouring the surrounding spiritual energy, causing a huge energy whirlpool to appear in the sky above the profound ice city. It was slowly rotating, and a large amount of spiritual energy turned into a pillar of light that fell from the sky, entering the 2 array disks. Hall Master, if this continues, a lot of spar will be consumed. The 2 Ma.S. Sieve formation disks were absorbing energy at an increasing rate, as if they were monsters that could swallow the sea. No matter how many spar S we lose, we have to continue filling them in. If Chen Xiang takes this opportunity to escape now, all our 8 years of losses will be for nothing. Our plans to attack the Chen Martial continent will also end here. The palace master did not understand why it was like this, but he had no other choice. He could only continue to smash the spar, or else all his efforts would have been for naught. The news quickly spread, causing many people to think that Chen Xiang was coming out. Many of the powers who planned to join forces to attack Chen Martial Continent had stopped their plans. If Chen Xiang the G.O.D. of slaughter came out, then they would be sending themselves to their death. Although the Dragon Subduing School had just been established, outsiders never knew the extent of the Dragon Subduing School's strength. The Dragon Subduing School didn't have a leader right now, so he had never made any other moves, but if Chen Xiang came out and led the mysterious and powerful Dragon Subduing School to sweep through Dtian, no one would be afraid, especially the demons. Many people thought that Chen Xiang was about to come out, and they all had mixed feelings, especially those big shots of the powers, but Chen Xiang was currently lying inside the seal. It was extremely quiet inside, without even the slightest movement, which made his heart burn with anxiety. If Nirvana Doom did not come, then he would have finished his plan. Is it Nirvana Doom? I really want to go through Nirvana Doom in this situation, the middle-aged man asked. It's not Nirvana Doom because there is no robbery power. If it was, it would not absorb our spar, and it is possible that Chen Xiang used some methods inside to weaken our seal. According to this method, he would not last long. We must not open the seal, and that brat is extremely cunning. We cannot open it at all, or else he would have escaped. The Hall Master had thought it through thoroughly. This was indeed caused by Nirvana Doom, but this kind of Nirvana Doom was different from normal Nirvana Doom. It was extremely rare. Even the Hall Master of the Fire Divine Palace had never heard of this kind of Nirvana Doom, which was why he denied it. Lying on the ground, Chen Xiang suddenly felt something that appeared here. He suddenly sat up, only to see a semi-transparent person appearing, and his body was slowly becoming more obvious. C-1175. C-1175. After Chen Xiang saw this person, he immediately took out the Green Dragon Demon-Slain broadsword. It was because he felt that this person had a very strong killing intent towards him, as if this person was born to kill him. This was an extremely ordinary-looking man. He was dressed in black, with lifeless eyes, as though he was someone who had received a severe head injury, and his expression looked foolish, although it was so, but this person's body was releasing a powerful force, and the killing intent was extremely dense, causing Chen Xiang to be on guard. "Who are you?" Chen Xiang shouted as he looked at his opponent. "I am the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit, the person who has come to kill you." This person's voice did not contain the slightest bit of emotion as he lightly glanced at Chen Xiang with his empty eyes. "A person like you must not be allowed to live, you must be eliminated. Get rid of your sister." Since the other party had already said so, Chen Xiang was not courteous at all. Raising his blade, he flashed over, aimed at the man's neck and slashed out a slash at lightning speed, SLAs. Plus-ing out a dragon power that shook the air, with a rumbling sound. In an instant, the divine blade in Chen Xiang's hand sliced past the neck of the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit. But what was truly frightening was that Chen Xiang's powerful slash just now was like a chop in the air. It did not harm a single hair on that person's body, and although that person's body was translucent, he could still speak, so that person should be a living person without a mistake. Even if it was a soul type, that slash just now would have been scattered. This guy is not a human, he is just a spirit, and should be called a tribulation spirit. Didn't he just say that he himself is a law enforcement heaven spirit, so he came here specifically to kill you? That's right, this guy is the seventh tribulation Nirvana Doom that you have to go through. Long Shui said. He never thought that his seventh tribulation would actually be like this. As for that hollow spirit body, he naturally understood that it was the ancient spirit clan's very strong inherent skill. Gu Dongchen only knew how to use it, and this inherent skill could make his body feel like air, and would not be able to injure him. How strong is this guy? Chen Xiang held onto the green dragon demon-slain broadsword tightly, staring at the seemingly emotionless law enforcement heaven spirit. He felt the strange killing intent from the law enforcement heaven spirit. Chen Xiang was also slightly angry in his heart, making him feel as if he was not welcome by the heavens. Very strong. Long Shui only had 2 words, and her understanding of these law enforcement heaven spirits also only amounted to this much. Die. The law enforcement heaven spirit said indifferently. Just as he said that, Chen Xiang felt a sharp pain from his chest, and he also felt his breastbone breaking. Following that, an incomparable pain came from his chest, a tearing pain that caused him to scream out loud, and fresh blood spurted out along with his scream. Bastard. Chen Xiang lied on the ground and looked at the law enforcement heaven spirit. Previously, he did not see nor did he sense that the law enforcement heaven spirit had attacked him, yet he was struck by a heavy punch. If not for the protection of the profound wood diamond armor, that punch would have penetrated his chest and destroyed his heart. This law enforcement heaven spirit was truly powerful, to even be able to beat Chen Xiang up to the ground without him being able to detect anything. He didn't die. Continue to kill. Just as law enforcement heaven spirit finished speaking, Chen Xiang immediately rolled on the ground. Just as he turned around, there was an extra footprint on the ground where he laid, and the entire auction place was shaking for a bit, causing the Fire Divine Palace people outside to be alarmed, afraid that Chen Xiang would run out. Chen Xiang's heart still had some lingering fear, because that kick just now was aimed at his head. If he hadn't dodged it, the consequences would have been obvious. It was understandable for this law enforcement heaven spirit to be so strong, since the powerful robbery power had produced something that had such intelligence. Although the type of nirvana doom that he had endured before was very strong, it did not concentrate all of his strength, and it was all just a large area of attack. And this law enforcement heaven spirit in front of him, not only did it not waste a large amount of robbery power, but also had an extremely lethal attack which made it difficult for Chen Xiang. With the last 2 times, Chen Xiang became even more vigilant, releasing all of his divine power to observe his surroundings. The speed was so fast that Chen Xiang could not see it, and he did not dare to block it either, so he could only avoid it because with this kind of ethereal body, you could not hit him, but he could hit you instead. This guy hasn't fully grown yet. I feel that he is slowly growing stronger, probably devouring the energy outside, and making himself stronger. This isn't a good thing for you. It's best if you kill him before he fully matures. Long Shui said. Chen Xiang also wanted to, but he didn't even have the chance to retaliate. It was already good enough that he didn't get beaten up. But more importantly, he didn't even know how to attack this law enforcement heaven spirit with an ethereal body. Don't you have a philosophic stone? Try using a philosophic stone. This thing is very mysterious, you should know how to deal with this law enforcement heaven spirit. Long Shui said. Chen Xiang secretly cursed himself for being so negligent, and actually did not think of this. The philosophic stone could comprehend everything about the natural way, and was extremely profound. It might be possible for him to pry into the law enforcement heaven spirit's weakness. He immediately took out the philosophic stone, and at the same time, he felt a strong qi approaching him, so he quickly dodged. At the same time, he also channeled his divine power into the philosophic stone, and unknowingly, a diagram of the innate qi appeared in his mind. This is it, this is the power that can attack this guy. Chen Xiang was ecstatic. Under this state, the overlaid berserk dragon power struck the punch that was aimed at his forehead. Bang! A loud sound echoed from inside the seal. It was the first time Chen Xiang had touched this law enforcement heaven spirit, and his entire arm was numb. He had retreated dozens of steps, and the law enforcement heaven spirit had only taken a few steps back. It was clear that there was a huge gap in strength between the two of them. This guy is really strong. I just like to fight with guys like him who are much stronger than me. Chen Xiang took out the green dragon demon-slain broadsword. Just now, from the philosophic stone, he learnt that this kind of body that could deal with hollow spirits could be created by him using a little bit of innate qi to circulate the power of this body. Stop resisting. Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit said indifferently. His body suddenly released a burst of gold light, and then disappeared. Chen Xiang was shocked. He only felt that he was surrounded by the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit's qi from all directions. He did not know which side the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit would come from. Up ahead. Chen Xiang sensed it, and just as he was about to attack, he suddenly realized that he could not move at all. His legs were grabbed by a pair of hands that came out from the ground, both of his wrists were held by two hands that appeared out of thin air, and his waist was held tightly by two arms. Chen Xiang never thought that this would happen. Seeing that the strong enemy was attacking at him but he could not even move, he could only allow the enemy to destroy his body. Boom, boom, boom. The Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit's fists were glowing with a golden light and each of his punches would hit Chen Xiang's body causing explosions. The Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit's punches were extremely ferocious, as if he wanted to punch through Chen Xiang's body with his punches, but he was unable to do so. Don't think I'm easy to bully. Chen Xiang roared. His body had already been punched for hundreds of times, even though he had the protection of the profound wood diamond armor, but the shock wave from the punch seemed to be able to break all the bones in his body. Following his furious roar, a golden gale burst out from his mouth, bringing along flash. Hi+ing cyan lightning as it rushed towards the upper half of Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit, instantly engulfing the entire heavenly spirit realm. Chen Xiang finally hit the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit, and the hand that was holding onto him disappeared as well. After struggling free, he took out the green dragon demon-slain broadsword and chased after it, SLAs. Plussing down fiercely at the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit, and in that instant there were dozens of heavy blades. The blades had all trembled the ground, the impact causing the air to explode, and it was extremely scary. Chen Xiang did not expect that the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit would have flesh and blood. However, what made him curse was, the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit that was chopped into pieces actually came back to life. He knew how to reform himself, and his speed was extremely fast. You can't kill him. You can't kill him? Chen Xiang avoided the kick sent by the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit. He was extremely anxious. At this moment, he could feel that the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit was becoming more and more powerful. If he was still unable to defeat it, it would be very difficult for him. Outside, the two array discs were absorbing a huge amount of energy. The people of Fire Divine Palace kept on taking out spars, maintaining the array's operation. If it stopped, Chen Xiang might just run out. They were very worried about this. And this was all because the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit was absorbing the energy outside, strengthening himself, so that he could kill Chen Xiang. Without the overwhelming superpower, it would be very difficult to defeat him. However, he is not invincible. He would need a very powerful strength to use his void spirit body or to reconstruct his body. Long Shui said. Chen Xiang shouted angrily at the Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit and attacked again. This time, he used the third killing move from the Heaven-Earth killing method, fusing three of them together, the star diagram above his head, the mountain and river beneath his feet, the killing G.O.D. heart in his heart beating, releasing waves after waves of terrifying killing intent. It merged with the divine power in his divine sense C, turning into a type of momentum, causing his strength to become even more powerful, as though he was a powerful fighting spirit. The divine blade slashed out, releasing a dragon cry in all directions, and the green dragon soared out. Its eyes flickered with a red light, baring its fangs and brandis. Hi+ing its claws, it rushed towards Law Enforcement Heaven Spirit. Roar. The dragon's roar shook the earth, and when the green dragon-shaped power rushed forward, the law enforcement heaven spirit wanted to dodge, but he was still a bit slow. His body was struck by the dragon head ruthlessly, the berserk power ripping the law enforcement heaven spirit into dozens of pieces. Chen Xiang's eyes suddenly lit up. Although the law enforcement heaven spirit was very strong, his body was very weak. Facing such a strong attack, he actually broke it, and even if it could be reformed, it was still a big weakness of his, and such a process would consume a lot of energy. "You're nothing special." Chen Xiang ran over and slapped his palm down towards the few pieces of flesh on the ground. The strong force that was surging through his body transformed into a huge flaming palm that ruthlessly smashed into the pieces on the ground, turning them into ashes. Boom! 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 Chen Xiang quickly struck his palms a few times, causing all the flesh on the ground to turn into dust. However, the law enforcement heaven spirit was not destroyed, and unexpectedly appeared right in front of Chen Xiang. Even if he did not have a physical body, he could still reform it. This guy. I clearly used the God slain method, so his soul should have suffered some sort of severe injury as well. Chen Xiang clenched his teeth and said, "I will not die. As long as the heavens and the earth are still there, they will provide me with endless power until I kill you." Law enforcement heaven spirit's voice was ice cold. His expression was like someone looking down at an ant, as if he could pinch Chen Xiang to death anytime. Chen Xiang laughed coldly. "Don't think that you are invincible. Aren't you also unable to kill me? In my eyes, you are just a heartless dog that has been bestowed with great power." While he was speaking, law enforcement heaven spirit had already attacked, releasing a powerful qi. His power was actually stronger than before. Bang! Law enforcement heaven spirit fiercely punched Chen Xiang's abdomen. Chen Xiang was not able to dodge in time. His left rib was struck by the powerful force, causing the bones there to almost shatter, but he did not fly out, but retreated half a step and threw a palm towards law enforcement heaven spirit's head instead. The violent power of the heaven-blasting palm smashed law enforcement heaven spirit's head to pieces, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. Law enforcement heaven spirit increased his tempo. Although his head was blown off, his body was still in good condition as he quickly unleashed 2 more palm strikes, which shook S.P.A.C. and struck towards Chen Xiang's chest. Chen Xiang only felt the bones in his chest being broken as pain flooded his body. The instant he was sent flying, he swept his leg towards law enforcement heaven spirit's lower body and broke his thighs. Chen Xiang endured the pain and took out a few pills to swallow. This guy's body is just a piece of dregs, but when he attacks, every move will break the bones. Long Shui said, "That's for sure, this guy's body has just been formed and is still unstable. Moreover, he doesn't need a strong physical body, there's no need for that. Looks like this guy really can't be killed. Since that's the case, I can only take the risk. I don't believe that this move can't kill him." Law enforcement heaven spirit was in the middle of condensing his head, and just when he was about to condense it, he was suddenly enveloped by a translucent golden pill furnace. The heavenly alchemy was a super divine technique that could burn the heavens and the earth. Before, he had been warned by the white tiger many times not to use it excessively, so he had restrained himself a lot and did not refine any more mountains. Now that the law enforcement heaven spirit was hard to deal with, he could only use this method to refine it. Even the heavens could refine it. He believed that refining this spirit formed from the energy of heaven and earth shouldn't be a difficult matter, and he might even be able to refine a powerful pill. The law enforcement heaven spirit was very strong. If he wanted to refine him, he would have to stay inside the pill furnace obediently, or have an extremely strong divine power to trap him inside the pill furnace, preventing him from breaking through the pill furnace in a short period of time. "Little naughty dragon, lend me your divine power." Chen Xiang sensed that the pill furnace was about to be broken through, and anxiously shouted. Long Shui had already made such preparations a long time ago. Chen Xiang's divine sense suddenly surging with a vast and powerful divine power made Chen Xiang extremely shocked. He never thought that Long Shui's divine power would be so strong. It was a good thing for him. Don't think about it. Chen Xiang quickly fused with the God power that Long Shui had transferred over, using it to stabilize the pill furnace. This was a pill furnace condensed from the heavenly alchemy. According to the records of the heavenly alchemy, as long as one had sufficient strength, even the legendary Gods would not be able to escape. With such a powerful divine power, Long Shui was able to stabilize the furnace. Chen Xiang did not know where the heavenly alchemy came from, but he believed in its power. Using the heavenly alchemy to refine things, doesn't that require a lot of flames? These flames are formed from absorbing the energy of the world, and are close to the power of the heavenly fire. Long Shui asked. Seeing Chen Xiang using the heavenly alchemy to refine something powerful, she knew that she would get her hands on something. Chen Xiang saw the anger on law enforcement heaven spirit's face, and could not help but laugh. Don't worry, there is a special method to deal with this kind of situation in the heavenly alchemy, especially this kind of law enforcement heaven spirit that is connected to the heaven and earth. He himself is a powerful force of nature, let him burn himself. Suddenly, many spirit grains appeared outside the translucent pill furnace. Like threads, they gradually formed and filled the entire surface of the pill furnace. Chen Xiang had created these based on the methods in the heavenly alchemy. These spirit grain would produce a strange power, which could make the things in the pill furnace flow naturally. Law enforcement heaven spirit roared out. His body suddenly exploded and turned into a strong flame, burning the pill furnace. After law enforcement heaven spirit's body turned into flames, he immediately condensed a new body inside the furnace, then self-detonated inside the furnace, becoming flames again and again, causing the flames inside the furnace to become stronger and stronger. More than 10 days later, Chen Xiang could not remember how many law enforcement heaven spirits' bodies had turned into raging flames, but the flames inside the furnace were already strong enough, and only now did he begin to burn this law enforcement heaven spirit. Su Meiyao asked in doubt, "Little scoundrel, how is this guy going to refine the technique? Will he refine out a body and another one will appear?" Chen Xiang laughed. "That isn't it. As long as I refine this fellow's body until it is almost broken, there will be a slight pause, and when he recovers completely, we can continue to refine more. In this way, we can form many medicine aura." He was obviously sent here to kill, but now he had fallen into someone else's pill furnace. This was probably the first time law enforcement heaven spirit met with such treatment. Although the law enforcement heaven spirit could injure Chen Xiang and break his bones, Chen Xiang's recovery rate was also very strong, so it was difficult for them to have any results if this carried on, but it was different now. Chen Xiang did not need to fight, as he could continuously drain the energy of the law enforcement heaven spirit. However, when he was about to be completely melted, Chen Xiang would pause for a moment, allowing the law enforcement heaven spirit's body to return to its original state, and then continue to burn. In just 3 days, a large amount of energy had accumulat inside the furnace, which could be used to produce flames or could be used to condense pills. However, when he was about to be completely melted, Chen Xiang would pause for a moment, allowing the law enforcement heaven spirit's body to return to its original state, and then continue to burn. In just 3 days, a large amount of energy had accumulat inside the furnace, which could be used to produce flames or could be used to condense pills. No wonder that White Cat told you to use the heavenly alchemy so carefully. It's too abnormal, it turned that guy into a dog. Long Shui laughed and said. Senior White Tiger said before, that back then 10 Heaven's Supreme Lord caused trouble because of the excessive use of the heavenly alchemy, and I am unable to use it now. Hopefully it is not like 10 Heaven's Supreme Lord, or else it would be hard for my power to resist it. Chen Xiang was also worried. Chen Xiang was enjoying his training inside, but the Fire Divine Palace outside were in a miserable state. Over the past 10 days, they had been consuming a large amount of spar-s every day, and they had to call over spar-s from various businesses that they had established in the Fire Divine Palace in Dtian. They had already used up all of their spar-s in the profound ice city. Moreover, they did not know when would be the end. If they knew that their spar-s had all been refined into pellets by Chen Xiang, they would definitely vomit blood right now. The profound ice city was protected by many powerful formations, which was why it was warm in the winter and cold in the winter. However, the spirit energy inside the profound ice city was currently being crazily absorbed by the 2 arrays sealing Chen Xiang, and the one absorbing the spirit energy was the law enforcement heaven spirit. What made the Fire Divine Palace jump was not only the consumption of a large number of spar to stabilize the seal, but also the few big defensive arrays, showing signs of weakening and accelerating. In other words, the power of the few big defensive arrays were losing and rust. Hi+ing into the seal that trapped Chen Xiang. Hall Master. We do not know how long we will have to endure for. If this continues, all of our Fire Divine Palace will be hollowed out, so we might as well kill Chen Xiang. An old man suggested. As long as we capture Chen Xiang's wife alive, Chen Xiang will obediently hand over the good stuff that he has. The value of the green dragon demon slain broadsword and the dragon vein far serpa. SES everything that we have right now. The palace lord said, we can't stop now. This might be Chen Xiang messing around with something inside. If he wants to escape, we definitely can't give him the chance to do so. You have to understand, if the seal is removed now, even I might not be able to trap him any longer. I absolutely cannot relax. It would be too difficult to seal him once. The powerful law enforcement heaven spirit also submitted in front of Chen Xiang's furnace at this moment. He didn't know why, but after staying inside for a month, he stopped struggling and sat there cross-legged. His body was slowly incinerated by the flames, never to be reborn again. This surprised Chen Xiang. He still hoped that the law enforcement heaven spirit would last a little longer, and then he would be able to concoct a batch of pretty good pills without spending any effort, but the pills that were being concocted now were not bad either. If they were to continue for another year or so, the Fire Divine Palace outside would be exhausted. At this moment, the seal had stopped devouring energy, causing all the higher-ups in the Fire Divine Palace to heave a sigh of relief. These past few days had been like a nightmare for them. Chen Xiang did not know about what was happening outside, but that was a good thing for him. He was focused on condensing the pill, and there was a large amount of energy inside the pill furnace. The other thing that caused Chen Xiang to cheer was that he could already feel the power of giving entering his body. As he was fusing with the power of giving, he was also compressing the pill furnace's energy. If he did not understand heavenly alchemy, he might still be fighting with the law enforcement heaven spirit that was hard to kill, and at the end, he would be the one dying. When this news spread, it made many people shocked. They all thought that Chen Xiang had used more than a month in that seal, and had almost used up all of the spar in the Fire Divine Palace. But now that the seal had returned to its original state, it did not have any movements. Everyone thought that Chen Xiang was just gathering his energy for a strike. Maybe he would not be able to do this anymore. It was truly a pity. The appearance of the law enforcement heaven spirit was related to Chen Xiang, so it could be said that those spar were consumed because of Chen Xiang, but Chen Xiang did not know, so he managed to indirectly obtain the energy of those spar-s, which was the pellet that he was refining right now. After transcending the 7 nirvana tribulations, the power of giving that he obtained was different from before. Not only did these power of giving gradually take the form of his 7th heaven pellet, it also transformed his body and made it stronger than before. The most miraculous thing was that even though his body was already very strong, he was still able to improve greatly under the effects of the power of giving. Therefore, those who had undergone the nirvana tribulation would usually have a devastating golden body, which was the symbol of a person who had undergone the nirvana tribulation. Even the strength of the body would have the power to destroy it. Of course, if the original body's foundation was very strong, then the devastating golden body would also be stronger. Many people would become more hard-working after going through the 6 nirvana tribulations. For someone like Chen Xiang, who had mastered a mortal devil body to a large degree, he was probably the only one. As a result, he did not know how strong his physical body was. In 3 days' time, his 7th heaven pill had already formed, and it was still increasing. In the future, he would cultivate to perfection and then condense the 8th heaven pill's core. But the power of giving was not over, and was still altering his body. At the moment, his body was S.H.I. plus Ning with a bright golden light, and when the light flickered, he released waves after waves of powerful auras. Even he felt that it was inconceivable, because all of this was the power of his body. The pellet in the furnace had already been refined, it was 2 white pellets, but right now, Chen Xiang did not have the time to eat it, but had the philosophic stone S in his hands, allowing him to unleash the power of giving better. Right now, it was extremely important to him. He felt that his body had to break through his immortal devil body to reach a whole new realm. Thinking of this, he was extremely excited. The power of his body combined with the power of the innate qi, its might was limitless. From his point of view, the power of his body could make the innate qi stronger, and the strength of his innate qi could also make his divine power stronger. If you look at it this way, you should be able to break through the immortal devil body this time, and what kind of physical body would be there when the time comes? We personally witnessed this little scoundrel during the first stage of the immortal devil body, but not too long later, his immortal devil body reached large success, and he even stepped into a realm where even I do not know how strong his physical body is. Su Meiyao thought back to this matter and sighed. When they first met Chen Xiang, they did not expect him to grow so fast. Bai Yuyu's heart was also filled with emotions. She couldn't help but think back to the first time she met Chen Xiang, when she was completely naked with him, and this made her cold and elegant jade face to feel a little hot. If the body of the little scoundrel grows any further, it might even be the legendary body of Heavenly Sage. Long Shui exclaimed, "It's not easy for a human to reach such a state. If it's really like that, then his body will become even more abnormal than his own innate qi." Body of Heavenly Sage, body of Heavenly Sage. Bai Yuyu muttered to himself and said, "Isn't this the realm that Master has always pursued the body? Shui, if this little scoundrel reaches that level, how strong would his physical body be?" Su Meiyao asked in surprise. Body of Heavenly Sage should have this kind of power at the early stages. I never thought that such a strange thing would happen to his body. The realm of his fleshly body has already surpassed said mine by so much, but in the future it will be difficult for his body to improve. Long Shui was also looking forward to how Chen Xiang's body would change after the battle. Chen Xiang closed his eyes, focused on holding the philosophic stone, and then following the philosophic stone's guidance, he started using the power of giving to achieve the best results. But now, he could clearly feel how fast his body was becoming stronger. Inside this rundown auction hall, Chen Xiang sat in the middle as the golden rays of light on his body flashed dazzlingly, like the hot noon sun, making it hard for people to look straight at him. Inside this rundown auction hall, Chen Xiang sat in the middle as the golden rays of light on his body flashed dazzlingly, like the hot noon sun, making it hard for people to look straight at him. Chen Xiang began to feel a little pain in his body. He discovered that the blood, bones, and muscles in his body, under the nourishment of the power of giving, were constantly being destroyed, reborn. With so much food being eaten and reborn, it was as if he was being reborn anew. Only the powerful bone soul inside his bones had not been destroyed. That was where his soul resided, the bone soul S, the two of them combined, causing his recovery speed to be extremely divine. He did not know how long this situation would last, but he was certain that his physical body was constantly growing stronger. It's always growing stronger. What terrifying physical strength! Long Shui used his divine power to peer inside Chen Xiang's body. That kind of shocking enhancement speed made her doubt believe that if Chen Xiang's body really evolved into a body of heavenly sage, then the power of his body would surpass the power of the innate qi. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu had never heard of this kind of situation before. Moreover, their physical bodies had not yet reached large success of immortal devil body, and their flesh bodies had said the immortal devil body. This was a realm normally pursued by people at the peak of the immortal king realm. But Chen Xiang was getting closer and closer to the realm that many heaven realm rankers dreamed of. Failure to escape caused Chen Xiang's friends to feel extremely regretful, but they were still impressed by Chen Xiang's ability. This was because the spar that Chen Xiang had used up all of Fire Divine Palace's energy. Even if it was revealed, it would have left them tongue-tied. Even if Chen Xiang did not come out, it would have caused the Fire Divine Palace to bleed greatly. Everyone said that they did not know that the seal devoured a large amount of energy because of the law enforcement heaven spirit. Chen Xiang had transcended the 7 nirvana tribulations and met a strong law enforcement heaven spirit, but in the end, this law enforcement heaven spirit was refined into a pill by Chen Xiang, and in the future, he would become a powerful part of Chen Xiang. Ah! Chen Xiang suddenly let out a long roar. The roar released a strong penetrating force, causing all the ceiling formations to tremble. The sound penetrated out, resonating in the air above profound ice city. The aura that looked down upon the entire world made many people feel fear, as though they were facing a god with the power to destroy the world. The golden light on Chen Xiang's body disappeared. It seemed like he did not have much of a change, but the power inside his body had undergone a tremendous change, becoming countless times more powerful. With the power of the 35 heaven pellets in his body, he could now fight against the immortals. Immortal ascension of the fleshly body. Long Shui took a deep breath. Is this body of heavenly sage? Chen Xiang clenched his fist, sensing the powerful strength contained within the body of heavenly sage. He felt that he could kill a worldly immortal with one punch. Ha! Chen Xiang stood up, suddenly shouted, and punched towards the sky. There was no innate qi, but the strong force was able to cause ripples in spac. I can leave very soon, UBASTAR. Of Fire Divine Palace, wash your neck and wait for me to cut it off. Chen Xiang clenched both his fists tightly, as his heart surged with emotions. Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were both extremely excited, because they had personally witnessed Chen Xiang cultivating his body of heavenly sage step by step, and Chen Xiang was the person closest to them. He was the person who would be able to help them recover their peak level strength in the future. Even though your physical body is now strong, it will be difficult for you to have more room for improvement in the future. You have already reached the boundary of humanity. Long Shui lamented. Body of heavenly sage have always been something that could only be cultivated by powerful dragons. I never thought that you, a human, would succeed so early. Although it's only at the initial stage, it's already very rare. Long Shui, who usually liked to brag, had no choice but to admire Chen Xiang at this moment. Chen Xiang laughed out loud and said, "It's rare that Heavenly Dragon's Supreme Lord praised me, and surprised and flattered me." Long Shui scoffed, Don't be too pleased with yourself. Even though you made a breakthrough, you can't get out now either." This seal was very strong and was built according to the standards of a sealed immortal king. Just now, Chen Xiang had punched the air and he knew how stable the spac inside was. Even though his current strength was strong, he was still unable to use the power of the spatial laws to leave this place. Looks like this is the only way. Chen Xiang took out a few dozen profound bings and said, I refined these profound bing into destructive ice seal Dan. Chen Xiang explained further, even if I borrow all of your strength, I'm afraid that I won't be able to break this seal. But with this added on to the fact that we might still have a chance the moment the ice seal Dan breaks out, and my body is not afraid of ice at the moment. I also have the profound wood diamond armor, so I can defend against the power produced by the ice seal Dan's explosion. A single profound bing was enough to destroy the entire city, but now, with dozens of them merged together, their might was not only increased by just a few dozen times. Understood, quickly start. Long Shui said. As long as the grain force was extracted from the profound bing powder, the remaining pure energy would not be destructive. If the grain force was kept, it could be refined into a destructive ice seal Dan. Maybe dozens of profound bing wouldn't be enough, so I might as well use 100. Chen Xiang thought for a while before he added another profound bing. Was very careful. If it were to explode, his Yanlong furnace might even break. However, Chen Xiang did not dare to do it because he did not want his Yanlong furnace to explode. When he first refined it, it was because he did not know enough about the profound bing and was not prepared well, that was why it exploded. But it was different now. He had a very thorough understanding of the profound bing and had refined it many times, so he was confident that he could refine 100 pieces of high-quality profound bing into a destruction ice seal Dan. More than 10 days had said, and all 100 profound bing had disappeared. They were all inside the Yanlong furnace, and currently the Yanlong furnace was trembling as it condensed into a ball of ice the size of a watermelon. This ice ball was still too big and its power was very small. Only by compressing this ice ball into the size of a grape could it be of a higher quality. Lend me your divine power. I need to speed up a bit, Chen Xiang said to Long Shui. At any moment, Long Shui would have enough power to lend it to Chen Xiang. She had exchanged blows with Chen Xiang before, and her divine power was able to fuse perfectly with Chen Xiang's divine power in an instant. Chen Xiang controlled the strong and huge divine power, wrapping the ice ball inside the Yanlong furnace. At the same time, he released strong flames, causing the structure of the ice ball to loosen up a lot, and then controlled the strong divine power to squeeze the ice ball, compressing it. It had to be known that the ball of ice was filled with the grain force and a pure energy that was as vast as the ocean. If it exploded out, the power would be unimaginable. The Fire Divine Palace thought that after Chen Xiang struggled to escape, there was no other way to escape. At this time, they also began to implement their plan. They would send people to discuss with the powers that wanted to attack the Chen Martial Continent, and rope them in. At that time, listening to them, the Fire Divine Palace would only know, which would make it easier for the Fire Divine Palace to attack the Chen Martial Continent, and the losses would also belong to others. The Fire Divine Palace thought that after Chen Xiang struggled to escape, there was no other way to escape. At this time, they also began to implement their plan. They would send people to discuss with the powers that wanted to attack the Chen Martial Continent, and rope them in. At that time, listening to them, the Fire Divine Palace would only know, which would make it easier for the Fire Divine Palace to attack the Chen Martial Continent, and the losses would also belong to others. As for whether the other powers would agree to it, it would still depend on Fire Divine Palace's sincerity and strength. Chen Xiang had been trapped here for almost 9 years. He could guess that Fire Divine Palace would definitely have a lot of tricks up his sleeves. He was worried that the immortal king from Fire Divine Palace would make a move. In Chen Martial Continent, other than the White Tiger, no one else could fight against him. If he could get out, he could only use those super old poison to kill that immortal king. Just a bit more. Hold on. Chen Xiang's divine power was also almost used up. The ice ball that was originally as big as a watermelon inside the Yanlong furnace was now as big as a walnut, and it was quickly compressed into a destructive ice seal Dan. An hour later, the shaking Yanlong furnace stabilized itself. Chen Xiang let out a long sigh of relief, then laid on the ground, gasping for air. I've finally succeeded. I'll be able to leave very soon. Chen Xiang was very confident in the might of this destructive ice seal Dan. He needed to rest. As long as he recovered to his peak, he could proceed with the next step. There were always people watching this sealing array. The guards were not weak, they were all worldly immortals, and could be considered to be one of the stronger powers in the Fire Divine Palace. They were sitting leisurely at the place, and had no idea that Chen Xiang was about to come out. Chen Xiang consumed the pill and quickly recovered. He was full of vigor, and when he thought about how he could leave the place and use the powerful energy of his body of heavenly sage to take revenge on the Fire Divine Palace, he became extremely excited. Lend me your strength. Chen Xiang took out that destructive ice seal Dan, and his hands couldn't help but start trembling. If he threw this destructive ice seal Dan out, as long as he received a fierce stimulus, it would explode. A golden and dazzling set of armor emerged on Chen Xiang, making him look like a god. Long Xue's vigorous dragon power could already be used by him as he wished. Ready. Chen Xiang took a deep breath. After adjusting his condition, he fiercely jumped into the air, and at the same time threw the ice seal Dan-s out, causing the pellet that contained a terrifying destructive ability to crash into the invisible seal that was shrouded over them. At the same time, he transformed the power of 35 of his heaven pellets into dragon power, and fused it with the boundless dragon power that Long Xue had sent over. Adding in the power of his own body of heavenly sage, his current power became incomparably powerful. Boom! The destruction ice seal Dan exploded, and a powerful burst of cold air accompanied by a burst of qi spread out in all directions. In that moment, Chen Xiang used the explosive force to blast out a punch towards the transparent seal. It was condensed with the powerful energy that he was able to use, accompanying the explosive force of the destruction ice seal Dan. Amidst the rumbling sounds, the entire auction place started to shake violently, and in an instant, it became a world of ice and snow. Chen Xiang's entire body was covered with profound Bing-s, and he was struck by the force of the impact. He was in extreme pain, but that was better, the soldiers did not heavily injure him. There it is. Chen Xiang suddenly caught a glimpse of a crack in the ground where he had been attacked by a powerful force. Chen Xiang immediately shot towards the crack, and the crack was quickly healing. He had underestimated the power of the seal array. He originally thought that he would be able to create a big hole, but there was only a small crack. I must get out. In the instant that the crack was about to close, he used up all his power from Divine Sense C and used the profound movement skill inside the transformation technique. He turned himself into a wisp of smoke and quickly said through the crack. The people who were guarding the sealing circle felt it shake violently, and immediately turned pale in fright, and anxiously called for the hall master. The commotion just now was too intense. They did not understand how Chen Xiang could use such a powerful force to shake the terrifying sealing circle. Furthermore, he could not open it. He was worried that the moment it was opened, Chen Xiang would suddenly appear, and at that time, it would be very hard to grab hold of him. He's only at the end of his strength. This sealing formation is unbreakable. He's still inside, and he's only struggling uselessly. He was an immortal king, so he was well aware of how powerful this grand formation was. Even if he was sealed inside, he wouldn't be able to come out. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief, but what they did not realize was that in that moment of violent shaking, a light wisp of smoke floated out and floated along with the breeze into the patch of GRAS at the edge of Profound Ice City. Because the Profound Ice City was protected by a large formation, flowers, plants and trees could be grown in the snowy lands of the profound cold ancient realm, and they were extremely lush and fleuries. Ing. Chen Xiang had already exhausted all of his strength. Seeing the warm light that was being emitted by the light barrier that enveloped the profound ice city, his lips curled into a smile. I'm finally out. A year earlier. Chen Xiang was very satisfied with this. He would definitely not let the Fire Divine Palace know that he had come out. After 4 hours, he had completely recovered. He had turned into an summing middle-aged man. He walked around the city, inquiring about what had happened during the past 9 years. What made him more pleasantly surprised was that the Chen martial continent's defensive capabilities were very strong. The strength of the entire body exceeded his expectations, and was able to resist the invasion of multiple powers from the third realm of the human demons over the past few years. Since they are all fine, then I am relieved. Fire Divine Palace, oh Fire Divine Palace, you shouldn't have tried to kill me, and even more so, shouldn't have thought of using Xian to threaten me. Chen Xiang's eyes suddenly turned incomparably cold, and he walked towards the city gate. The profound ice city was inside the profound cold ancient realm, and the Fire Divine Palace's secret underground palace was also inside. It was also a place that the Fire Divine Palace attached a lot of importance to, so Chen Xiang decided to rush over there right now. It was not easy to build that underground palace. He thought that the Fire Divine Palace would not move the Ice Emperor away, and he felt that that place was most suitable for the Ice Emperor to absorb energy to revive. Chen Xiang didn't know what the relations Hi+P between the Fire Divine Palace and the Ice Emperor was, but he knew that the Fire Divine Palace was in a hurry to revive the Ice Emperor. Not long after he left the city, Chen Xiang saw some hidden codes on the ground, which only Duan Chong knew about, and they were the contact method that Duan Chong had given him. Following the secret signal, he found a piece of communication jade symbol paper. Elder Duan. Where are you? Chen Xiang used a jade talisman to send a message to Duan Chong. After falling into the chaotic S.P.A.C., Duan Chong came back alive. Little brat Chen Xiang, you really came out? Stay there and I'll come looking for you. Was very surprised. He, the clan chief of the Duan clan, had read through many ancient books in many of the families, and he was very clear on the power of that great formation. It was used to seal the immortal king. Little brat Chen Xiang, you really came out? Stay there and I'll come looking for you. Was very surprised. He, the clan chief of the Duan clan, had read through many ancient books in many of the families, and he was very clear on the power of that great formation. It was used to seal the immortal king. When Duan Chong came to the profound ice city through the transmission array, he discovered that it was still very calm here. He immediately understood that no one knew when Chen Xiang ran out, and he secretly exclaimed in admiration at Chen Xiang's ability to actually escape from the powerful sealing formation without anyone noticing. He quickly left the city to find Chen Xiang. Duan Chong had also changed her appearance before, although there were very few people who had seen him, but when Chen Xiang saw him, he immediately recognized him. Duan Chong was surprised to see the middle-aged man in front of him. If he were not at this place where communication jade symbol paper were buried, he would not have believed that the middle-aged man in front of him was Chen Xiang. Seeing Chen Xiang smile at him, he nodded his head. Follow me. Duan Chong brought Chen Xiang into the city. They arrived at a BAS.EM.ENT with many array formations. Chen Xiang sat down and smiled. Elder Duan, it's really good to see you again. Duan Chong also laughed. I wanted to tell you this too, I didn't expect you to actually kill that Heaven Thunder Devil Lord, it's such a pity that I fell into a chaotic S.P.A.C. and couldn't witness the instant you killed that Heaven Thunder Devil Lord, that guy hurt me. It's good that you're back. Chen Xiang had always felt guilty about this matter, because he had opened the spatial door at the time, and Duan Chong had lost it when he had first stepped into the spatial door. Duan Chong didn't ask too much about how Chen Xiang came out. He smiled and said, I'm now your dragon-subduing school's elder, our Duan clan doesn't have any other abilities. We only know how to steal tombs. After Duan Chong came out, he found Duan Sanchong, this grandson of his, who was always at work in the dragon subduing school, and found out that the dragon veins were in Chen Xiang's hands, and the Iron Lion army was also in the dragon subduing school. Without saying a word, he directly brought the Duan clan's few people to the dragon subduing school, ending their many years of wandering. With the Duan clan joining the dragon subduing school, Chen Xiang would of course not mind them. Chen Xiang smiled and said, "Of course I welcome Elder Duan to my dragon subduing school." Duan Chong laughed, "Hee, I never thought that my grandson and I would both be elders, and actually be of the same generation." Chen Xiang had a rough understanding of what had happened in the past few years, so he did not have much to ask. He was more concerned with the lost history that Duan Chong had collected. "Elder Duan, is there anything related to the Ice Emperor in the history you've collected?" When Chen Xiang asked this question, he did not expect much, but he did not expect Duan Chong's reaction to be so intense. Duan Chong's face was filled with surprise as he anxiously asked, "How do you know about the Ice Emperor? He is an extraordinary person." Chen Xiang immediately became excited and said, "Tell me what you know first. I urgently need to know more about him, and the Demon Empress of Demon Charming A.S. Association doesn't tell me much, just a little. She says that the Ice Emperor is one of the 10 kings of the 9 emperors." Duan Chong nodded. "That's right, Ice Emperor of the 10 kings of the 9 emperor palace are vicious, cold, heartless, and addicted to killing. As long as Bingtian was unconvinced with his actions, they would all be wiped out, and the entire clan would be angered to the point of incurring the wrath of the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord and engaging in a great battle with the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord." Chen Xiang asked, "The Demon Empress said that one of 10 Heavens Supreme Lord's arms was cut off by him, is that true?" Duan Chong shook her head. 10 Heavens Supreme Lord did indeed lose an arm during that great battle, and suffered a great loss of vitality. However, it was not done by Ice Emperor alone, and there is still Fire Emperor. At that time, during the great battle, only Ice Emperor and 10 Heavens Supreme Lord were left. However, in the end, the ambushed Fire Emperor suddenly appeared and plotted against him, allowing him to gain an advantage and freeze one of 10 Heavens Supreme Lord's arms before shattering it. Chen Xiang was surprised. The two of them had actually teamed up, and they were even so despicable. And the last. Both Ice Emperor and Fire Emperor have fallen. The alliance of the two emperors was actually killed by the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord. The power of the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord was something that Chen Xiang was extremely impressed with. Chen Xiang pondered for a while, then said, "I know that Fire Divine Palace wants to revive the Ice Emperor. Could Fire Divine Palace be related to Fire Emperor?" Duan Chong frowned and said in shock, "Fire Divine Palace wanted to revive the Ice Emperor. As expected, the Ice Emperor is still with Di Tian. For people like them, it would be difficult for them to die completely. Back then, the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord was probably also heavily injured and did not kill all of them. The Fire Divine Palace is related to the Fire Emperor, and should be established by the Fire Emperor. I think that the Fire Emperor's body was probably destroyed, and his soul was still there, or else the Fire Divine Palace would not be able to continue living until now, because back then, after the Fire Emperor had fallen, the Fire Divine Palace would quickly disappear, and only appear in the Heaven Realm after Di Tian broke up, becoming a strong power. It is very likely that the Fire Emperor wanted to revive the Ice Emperor. As expected, Duan Chong knew a lot of things and was very excited about it. "Elder Duan, do you know why the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord perished back then?" Chen Xiang really wanted to know about this. "According to what I know, it's because of the things that the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord did that shook the position of those fellows. That's why those fellows secretly supported the traitor powers to deal with the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord, and even sent some demon masters after them. Afterwards, there was even an earth-shattering battle, and it was said that Di Tian also broke down at that time. Chen Xiang took out the green dragon demon-slain broadsword, caressed the blade, and asked, Ice Emperor and Fire Yanjing have a chance of reviving, maybe 10 Heaven's Supreme Lord can also do it, maybe 10 Heaven's Supreme Lord is still alive, or maybe he has been reborn. The white tiger had been reborn, so there was nothing impossible about it. I don't know, but in short, no one in the real Emperor's tomb knows where it is. Maybe after you have gathered all the heaven-earth killing method, there will be other ways to find the place where his bones are buried. How many heaven-earth killing method you have now? Duan Chong knew that Chen Xiang had found the celestial slain method in the heaven thunder purgatory. It's still the same, but I have the location of the beast slain method in Sacred Beast's ancient realm. This was what the super old fire beast had told Chen Xiang. The super old fire beast had also said that this was the place where he and the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord were born. Duan Chong exclaimed, As expected, this is the place where powerful beasts were born back then. 10 Heavens Supreme Lord was also born here. I wonder how it is like right now, but I can feel the danger inside. Chen Xiang had always wanted to know where the sacred beast's ancient realm was. He had originally planned to ask the white tiger about it, but he didn't expect that Duan Chong seemed to know about it. Where? This will have to wait for me to find. During Di Tian's reorganization, the positions in many places have changed. I will calculate the position from a new point of view when I return. Duan Chong knew that gathering all the heaven-earth killing method S was very important to him, but that place was also very dangerous, so he decided not to tell Chen Xiang about it first. Chen Xiang wanted to quickly gather all the heaven-earth killing method S, but he did not know where the other parts were. He could only make himself stronger now, and when he found out where the other parts were, he would be able to quickly take them away. Chen Xiang wanted to quickly gather all the heaven-earth killing method S, but he did not know where the other parts were. He could only make himself stronger now, and when he found out where the other parts were, he would be able to quickly take them away. Do you want to return to the dragon subduing school now? Duan Chong asked. I'm not too worried. After you go back, you can only tell Elderly that I'm free, and let him formulate a plan to secretly assist the Chun martial continent, and it would be best if he contacted the Prink. 1p. Al of the Devil Subduing College. I believe that if the Fire Divine Palace attacks the Chun martial continent, he will definitely bring in the forces of the demon and devil realms. Chen Xiang still had to go to that underground palace to completely destroy Fire Divine Palace's plans to revive him. Ice Emperor was actually such a terrifying person, he could not be reborn inside the new Imperial Heaven world. I understand, I will find the location of the sacred beast's ancient realm as soon as possible. Duan Chong nodded his head. He had already known where sacred beast's ancient realm was, but the danger in Fire Divine Palace was still not over. He was worried that Chen Xiang would go and take a risk in Sacred Beast's ancient realm at this critical moment, and felt that he should at least wait until the matter of Fire Divine Palace's attack on Chen Martial Continent was over before he could tell Chen Xiang about the matter of Sacred Beast's ancient realm. Chen Xiang and Duan Chong parted ways in the profound Ice City. Duan Chong returned to the Dragon Subduing School, and Chen Xiang left the city to search for the underground palace. He knew that the underground palace was very important before, so he told Long Shui to remember the location of the underground palace. This way, he could quickly find it in the future. Chen Xiang felt that there shouldn't be too many strong 1. Tioniers guarding that underground palace. At the very most, there would be some very powerful formations, and he reckoned that there weren't many strong 1. Tioniers in the Fire Divine Palace, and right now they needed to go all around to pull some people into the alliance. There would also be some Profound Ice City's headquarters, and Profound Ice City South guarding that place. Last time in the underground palace, Chen Xiang had killed 2 of the stronger ones as well. If he met another expert of that level, he would immediately use his super old poison. After 2 days, Chen Xiang used the shrinking step and spatial travel to travel. Right now, he could see the tall mountain from afar, and the underground palace was built right under the mountain. Just as he had guessed, that mountain was shrouded in a strong array formation. After the last incident, the Fire Divine Palace reinforced the array defense. Chen Xiang didn't know if he could sneak in like last time. The entrance is gone. Chen Xiang turned into snow and used his divine power to observe the entire mountain. The hole that led to the belly of the mountain had already disappeared, but the underground palace was still there. It's a very tight array. If the G.O.D. power touches it, it might cause a lot of commotion. As for the powerful array inside, I can't see it. I don't dare to use the G.O.D. power to spy on it right now, or else it'll attract their attention. Long Shui said. Chen Xiang observed for a while and discovered that the array had blocked the snow and wind. The SPAC was also very stable, and it was difficult to penetrate. This time, the Fire Divine Palace had invested a lot into the array. There will be people patrolling outside at regular intervals. I can feel their residual aura. Long Shui said in excitement. Chen Xiang immediately understood and laughed. As long as those patrolling soldiers come out, I will think of a way to hide on their bodies and let them bring me in. Even if someone had heard of it, they did not think that it was something that a human could use. It was a high-level ability from the Imperial Dragon Clan, thus, Chen Xiang was able to use it and transform himself into a variety of things that could be used to infiltrate. It was a small team, with 10 people dressed in white, wearing white, and wearing a white robe and a white hat. They were all immortal grade S, and the fire attribute innate Chi S within their bodies were extremely thick, which showed that they were all Fire Divine Palace S experts. In the eyes of the new Imperial Heaven World, these 10 people were already considered very strong. They were all existences that Serpa S said the Nirvana realm. Chen Xiang, who had turned into flying snow, controlled himself to float onto one of the person's body. Then, he turned into a snow-white mosquito, hiding under the person's wrinkled clothes. These people were patrolling around the mountain, mainly for the sake of discovering the people who were approaching immediately. Normally, those who weren't from Fire Divine Palace would be killed by them, which was what Chen Xiang heard from their conversation. They would patrol for 3 days in a row before changing S.H.I. plus FTS. When they switched S.H.I. plus FTS, they were also 10 people who were on the same level as them. It was finally time for the S.H.I. plus FT change. Chen Xiang had already felt that those people had brought him into the powerful formation, and then transferred a hidden transmission array to the underground palace. It was difficult for people to travel through SPAC. This was all because of the last time Chen Xiang sneaked in, which was why Fire Divine Palace used this technique. But now, Chen Xiang had still managed to sneak in, and it was much easier than last time. The Fire Divine Palace had been around for a long time, and knew how to set up many powerful ancient formations. For example, the 10 people who had just returned needed to enter an array formation to be able to distinguish their blood and chi. This was to prevent others from impersonating patrolling soldiers from sneaking in. After entering the array, Chen Xiang suddenly felt a mystical power drilling into his body. Then, he saw the array give off a strong ray of light and it started to shake. C.R.A.P. I've been discovered. Chen Xiang never thought that this large formation would have this kind of ability. He had initially planned to attach himself to that person's body and follow them into the depths, but he never thought that the large formation would actually sense his existence and even cause such a commotion. That magical power that was able to enter Chen Xiang's body caused Chen Xiang, who had turned into a mosquito, to let out a white glow. At this moment, several elders had already arrived outside the array, and were able to see the dazzling mosquito. To be able to cause such a commotion in this formation, this is no ordinary mosquito. An old man's face was gloomy. He took out a small pag. Oh, duh, and activated it to create a powerful suction force. Chen Xiang could feel his body flying towards the small pag. Oh, duh. If this carried on, he might even be sealed again. Let's go all out. Everyone saw the small mosquito suddenly flash with a strong golden light. Then, an average-looking middle-aged man appeared with a black hammer in his hand. They didn't think that a mosquito could have such a high level of cultivation. At this moment, everyone thought that the person in front of them was a mosquito that had transformed into a demon, and that it might have been him last time. They didn't think that a mosquito could have such a high level of cultivation. At this moment, everyone thought that the person in front of them was a mosquito that had transformed into a demon, and that it might have been him last time. Just as everyone was in shock, the gray and tattered hammer in Chen Xiang's hand had already smashed towards the small tower that was producing a huge suction force. The powerful pressure caused the elder's face to change. When he realized that the hammer was not an ordinary item, it was too late. The hammer of God had already smashed down ferociously. The golden light was accompanied by a gush of splinters. Those who weren't strong enough had their bodies pierced through by the splinters and were badly mutilated. Chen Xiang only used the power of his body of heavenly sage to have such power. Of course, the power produced by the hammer of God was also very strong. The elderly man holding the pag had the heaviest injuries. His upper body had a large hole in it. Chen Xiang's hammer was the closest to him. Body of heavenly sage activated the hammer of God, instigating a very strong penetrative force, causing a blood hole to appear on the elderly man's body. A single strike had exterminated one of their experts. The most frightening thing was that they did not feel any elemental energy fluctuations. The person in front of them seemed to be using brute force to attack them. This was the first time they had seen someone with such great brute strength. This was the first time they had heard of such a thing. Chen Xiang swept his gaze across the people around him. There were 10 in charge of patrolling worldly immortals, and they all had some injuries, all caused by the broken pieces of the small pag from earlier. The other 3 elders were also from immortal grade S, but they were in the late stage of worldly immortal stage. Everyone here belonged to the Fire Divine Palace. Although everyone was a little afraid of Chen Xiang, they all made their moves at the same time, using their strongest powers to attack Chen Xiang. You overestimate yourself. With Chen Xiang's wave of the hammer of God, both its speed and strength had reached the limit. The blades and swords that were attacking him, whether or not they touched the hammer of God, would be destroyed by a strong wave of energy. The weapons that they thought they were powerful were all made of mud. They could not even withstand a single blow, and were all shattered by Chen Xiang's hammer. Everyone was blown away by Chen Xiang's hammer, while Chen Xiang also disappeared at that moment, appearing like a ghost behind an old man. He raised his hammer, and struck towards the old man's head with lightning speed. Boom! The powerful force instantly assembled the air, causing a series of explosive sounds to ring out. When the hammerhead struck the old man's head, a vast and berserk power suddenly poured into the old man's body, instantly erupting into a pool of blood, causing one's scalp to go numb. At this moment, no one wanted to be hit on the head by the black hammer. It was simply a judge's hammer, whomever was struck. At this moment, everyone was starting to regret. If they didn't find that despicable mosquito, then it was possible that it was just trying to sneak in to steal something. At that time, they would only be scolded a bit, but now that they found out the mosquito monster was fighting, seeing its power, they all felt terrified. After Chen Xiang killed one of them, he then took a strange step and floated to the side of another person. With another lightning strike, he used his berserk energy to smash an old man into pieces. Boom! 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 Those who screamed in panic were beaten to death by Chen Xiang one by one. Chen Xiang's attack was just too strong, and his speed was too fast, making it hard for people to escape. Even the fastest one would become Chen Xiang's target. Soon, only the old man controlling the golden bell was left. This old man was the strongest person here, and he had been on high alert from the very beginning. The other elders who had died were not weak, but Chen Xiang had taken the initiative to strike first and annihilate them. If they had been on high alert and joined forces to defend, Chen Xiang might not have been able to win so easily. Who exactly are you? It can't be that this is the first time you've come in here, right? Until now, the old man was still very calm. It could be seen that he was different from the other people who were struck to death by a hammer. You must be people from the Fire Divine Palace. You are looting everywhere in the profound cold ancient realm. You are lucky, S.N.A.T.C. Hing me once. At that time your people would have already been annihilated by me, and then I would have followed up on my way here. If you did not steal from me, then so many things wouldn't have happened. What Chen Xiang had said was the truth. He was currently being besieged by a small team sent by the Fire Divine Palace, which let him know of the Fire Divine Palace's scheme here. The Fire Divine Palace thought that they were invincible and that they could do whatever they wanted in the profound cold ancient realm, but they had met Chen Xiang. Since you know that we are from the Fire Divine Palace, and you dare to provoke us, this is not a wise move. Don't think that just because you can get in here twice you think that you are invincible. Looking at his expression, he was actually not afraid of Chen Xiang at all. Sooner or later, you will be in our hands. If you want to kneel down and beg for mercy, and become the slave of our Fire Divine Palace, you might have a way to survive. Oh! Of course, Chen Xiang would not think that the underground palace was so small, but he was still not afraid. As long as there was no immortal king, he would be able to leave any time. The old man's face turned pale, the flames on his body ignited, the golden bell he controlled flickered, and then produced a huge buzzing sound. The sound was extremely powerful, causing Chen Xiang's eardrums to hurt. It actually caused the divine power in his head to become chaotic, causing him to feel a headache. Golden bell lights shot out in all directions, resonating non-stop, as though summoning something, and Chen Xiang was struck by the sound waves to the point where his head was splitting apart. Just as he was about to use his energy to counterattack, his vision suddenly turned black, and then, an even more intense bell sound reverberated in his ears. Ah! Chen Xiang roared. He knew that he was trapped by the golden bell. The innate qi inside Chen Xiang's dantian suddenly started to surge. The dense innate qi inside the 35 heaven pills started to surge out, converging, knocking against each other, exploding, fusing with each other, transforming into dragon power, which then rushed towards the bones, muscles, blood channels, and blood vessels on Chen Xiang's arm, causing his entire arm to swell up. When the physical strength of the dragon power and body of Heavenly Sage merged together, the power was boundless. In addition to the powerful hammer of God, the power was even more terrifying. Smash your broken clock! Chen Xiang roared. He turned the hammer around and struck at the golden bell that was enveloping him, releasing a burst of power that shook the entire underground palace, causing some parts of it to crumble. The divine hammer, driven by an extremely powerful force, smashed apart that statue great bell and shattered it into pieces. Those fragments flew in all directions and penetrated into the thick stone wall. The strong sound pierced through the thick layer, thinking back to when it was in the sky above profound cold ancient realm, and this underground palace was trembling from the sound again and again. The strong sound pierced through the thick layer, thinking back to when it was in the sky above profound cold ancient realm, and this underground palace was trembling from the sound again and again. The old man had a lot of treasures, but he took out a black SHI+ELD to block the flying debris. His powerful gold bell had been destroyed, causing him to feel a pain in his heart. It was a good immortal equipment. Even if it was rare in the heaven realm, it was still shattered by the unremarkable black hammer. Chen Xiang took a deep breath, the pain from the bell was gone. This old man really does have some skill. He's not an ordinary old man. If it was an ordinary worldly immortal, he would have long been smashed into mincemeat. There are a lot of people Russ hi plussing over. Although they are not very strong, it is not a problem for them to stall you for some time. Long Shui warned her. Although Chen Xiang had a strong body of heavenly sage and a very powerful strength, allowing him who had just said the 7 nirvana tribulations to kill any worldly immortals in the middle stages, it would take him a long time to defeat the late-stage worldly immortal with his rich combat experience. Knowing that the others were about to arrive, the old man revealed a smile. As long as he could stall Chen Xiang for a while, he would have the chance to kill Chen Xiang. Don't be complacent. Chen Xiang suddenly waved his hand. The old man was startled, and anxiously placed the black hi plus eld in front of him, but he did not have any attack, but there was a faint fragrance coming from it. Just now, when Chen Xiang waved his hand, he scattered a black powder. This was the black blood magic sunflower powder he refined. It was a highly toxic object. He refined it when he was sealed, and the powder that he sprinkled out earlier was highly concentrated and made from it. Just from the small amount of powder just now, he used 10 black blood magic sunflower, so as long as he breathed in even a little, it was equivalent to inhaling large amounts of poison. After being refined, the poison became even stronger and spread much faster. The elder didn't expect the fellow before him to be so sinister, possessing such powerful poison that he was unable to guard against. Even though it was just a small inhalation, he could feel the poison spreading throughout his body at a rapid pace. Despicable. The old man cursed as he felt the blood in his body swelling up. His skin had turned as black as ink. The symptoms of the black blood magic sunflower's poisoning were like this. The blood turned black and expanded crazily, allowing people to blow it up. It's the black blood magic sunflower. After the old man found out what poison it was, he anxiously took out a green pill and consumed it. Chen Xiang had already started cultivating. The dragon power and his physical body combined together and smashed down with his hammer. Bang! Although the old man was poisoned, he could still use the power within his body. He hurriedly used his hi plus eld to block, but the powerful impact caused his entire body to feel numbness and pain, speeding up the spread of the poison. Chen Xiang thrashed about crazily, instantly becoming more than 10 hammers. Furthermore, his strength was about the same every time, sometimes increasing even a little. After hammering on for a few hundred times, the old man's hi plus eld would have cracks appear. When Chen Xiang saw this, he gathered his strength and struck. The iron hammer shone with a rainbow light. The strong pressure fluctuated in the air, causing the air to tremble and the ripples to spread out. Boom! The hammer smashed down. The gigantic hi plus eld finally shattered. The pieces flew out like beams of light. The elderly man was even more shocked by the hammer to the point of spitting out black blood. He was poisoned now, and was unable to use all of his strength to activate the hi plus eld, if not he would have been destroyed by Chen Xiang that quickly. You want me to be your slave? You aren't even worthy enough to carry my shoes. Chen Xiang's hammer smashed into the old man's left shoulder, and the powerful force tore apart the arm that was being pierced by the black blood. Fire Divine Palace, let me tell you, I am here for you, not to steal anything. I am here to destroy this place. I have already said that you have offended the wrong person. Destroying this place is only the beginning of my revenge against Fire Divine Palace. As he spoke, Chen Xiang had already hammered down several times. The old man was poisoned, although he had powerful antidotes, but that would still take some time, and facing Chen Xiang's crazy attacks during this period of time, he could still be considered dead. The black blood magic sunflower powder was not a super old poison after all, otherwise, Chen Xiang would have been done for long ago. However, He was extremely satisfied with the effects of the black blood magic sunflower, since there was nothing to worry about after using this poison, and the poison was very strong. Only this old man with a high level of detoxification pill and a strong power could resist it for such a long time. If it was anyone else, they would have already been covered in black blood. No matter who you are, you will die a horrible death if you offend the Fire Divine Palace. Our Fire Divine Palace's strongest hall master is a future 10 Heavens Supreme Lord. The old man said savagely. No matter who he is, I will take care of him. Chen Xiang smashed his hammer on the old man's head, killing him. Chen Xiang already knew that the strongest person in the Fire Divine Palace was the Fire Emperor. Of course he wasn't afraid. Have you found where the warehouse is? Chen Xiang asked Long Shui. I found it. There are a lot of people plussing over from that road. Long Shui said. Above the warehouse was where the Ice Emperor was located. Then I'll kill my way through. Chen Xiang was holding onto a hammer of G.O.D. This G.O. delay hammer was originally meant for forging divine equipment, but now that it was used by Chen Xiang to kill people, if the divine craftsman knew about it, who knew how he would feel? Before this group of people could even react, they could already feel a strong power charging over. That power carried the aura of a dragon as well as a very berserk body's power, and when it charged over, it was as if a huge dragon was charging over with its life on the line. It was just a single swing of the hammer by Chen Xiang, but a very powerful chi aura was produced. It was nothing to deal with these minions who had endured through the 7 to 8 stages of nirvana tribulation, just like harvesting straw. When that energy rushed over, it turned these people into smithereens. If I can endure the 8 nirvana tribulations, dealing with the late period of human immortal would be much easier. Chen Xiang wished he could break through immediately, but he had just said the 7 nirvana tribulations, and it was not easy either, so it would be difficult for him to reach it in a short period of time. He sprinted all the way back. As long as there were people charging in front of him, he would strike out with his hammer and sweep away all obstacles. Unless they were worldly immortals, they would all be instantly killed. There were a lot of people here in the Fire Divine Palace, and all of them were part of the hidden forces in the Fire Divine Palace. If this group of people were transferred over when they were attacking the Chen Martial Continent, it would be quite a strong force, capable of sweeping away many large sections. There are indeed no immortal monarchs here, otherwise I would have come out a long time ago. Chen Xiang had already reached the front door of the warehouse and fiercely smashed it open. When the 2 elders saw him, they were struck twice and all died. There were quite a lot of them in the warehouse, but the quality was not very high. It was not as good as the ones he stole before, but it was still of medium quality, around 2,000 pieces. There were quite a lot of them in the warehouse, but the quality was not very high. It was not as good as the ones he stole before, but it was still of medium quality, around 2,000 pieces. The cold chi emitted by these profound beings were all gathered together, and rushed up, used to revive the Ice Emperor. When the profound being was sealed, Chen Xiang had experienced it himself. Seeing the colorful profound being in front of him, he was ecstatic and quickly kept it within his own storage magic treasure. Is there no one else in Fire Divine Palace? Even after Chen Xiang quickly finished collecting the profound being, no one came to the warehouse. Above the warehouse was where the Ice Emperor was. Chen Xiang had gathered all of his strength and unleashed a punch, the powerful energy transforming into a huge electric light fist that smashed into the stone floor above. Boom! 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 The entire underground palace suddenly started to shake violently. Stones of various sizes fell down, and the thing on top was collapsing. Again. Chen Xiang saw that the hole was not big enough, and when the heaven-blasting palm flew out, the shaking this time was even more intense than before, causing the top of the huge warehouse to be filled with cracks. It seems like it's really not enough. Chen Xiang unleashed a few more palms of heaven-blasting palm S and struck the cracks on the wall, causing the stone wall above the warehouse to shatter. Just at this moment, a booming sound came from above and landed heavily on the ground. A blast of biting cold air, accompanied by a thick mist, filled the shabby warehouse with frost. Even Chen Xiang was forced to retreat by the intense cold force. The cold force seeped into his body and made him feel extremely cold. After the white mist that shrouded the area dissipated, Chen Xiang saw that in the middle of the huge warehouse there was a huge ice coffin. Looking at this ice coffin, Chen Xiang's heart jumped. He had already guessed that Ice Emperor was inside this ice coffin and felt that terrifying cold energy from before. It made him feel that this Ice Emperor seemed to be alive. If this guy is still alive, then we're in trouble. Chen Xiang took out the hammer of God, mustered his courage, and walked towards the huge ice coffin. The closer he got, the more intense the cold power became, causing him to feel fear, that kind of emperor's might, but he still kept walking forward step by step. Before coming here, he had already made up his mind to completely destroy this Ice Emperor and implement his plan to take revenge on the Fire Divine Palace. When Chen Xiang was just 10 steps away from the ice coffin, the coffin's lid suddenly moved, releasing a "ka" sound, which echoed in the huge, deathly still warehouse. Chen Xiang's forehead was instantly drenched in sweat. He clenched his teeth and retreated a few steps. With a loud bang, the lid of the coffin suddenly bounced open. After being struck hard by someone's palm, it shattered into ice crystals. The cold air became even more intense and carried with it the aura of an emperor as well as a strong killing intent. Sorry for the trouble. Sensing this sudden aura, he knew that the Ice Emperor had come out from the ice coffin. This should be the second time that you've come here, right? Last time, I was in a deep sleep and was unable to stop you. However, I still remember your aura. Damnu. It was a feminine voice with a hint of anger in it, making one's hair stand on end. A white mist drifted over, and after dispersing, a handsome man with snow-white skin appeared. His face was filled with anger, and when his eyes looked at someone, they caused them to feel an indescribable chill. Their bodies couldn't help but tremble. Chen Xiang suddenly felt a burst of cold qi coming from all directions. It was invisible and cold qi, but it was as oppressive as a sword. Chen Xiang could clearly feel, if he touched the cold qi, he would definitely bleed. Without a doubt, the person in front of him was Ice Emperor. However, he was not dead, and was still able to escape from the coffin. Chen Xiang anxiously waved his hammer, striking the invisible cold qi, releasing waves of strong pressure to dissipate the cold qi. Ice Emperor saw that Chen Xiang was able to resolve this move in a few moves, and also realized that the hammer in Chen Xiang's hand was not simple, it could actually strike the invisible cold power that he released. You are Ice Emperor. Chen Xiang took a small breath to calm himself down. In front of him was the Ice Emperor, but he was not very strong. Chen Xiang guessed that he had not fully recovered, but he still had enough strength. You know me. After knowing his name, he still dared to come and provoke him with no regards to his life. At this moment, he also could not see just how strong Chen Xiang was, if not he would not have been frightened by him just now. In the eyes of the Ice Emperor, Chen Xiang was someone that he could pinch to death anytime. Chen Xiang smiled, tidied up his hair and said, "To tell you the truth, I came here to let you return completely to the West. It's really too tiring for you to be half dead like this. I can end your bitter days here." He had never seen such a wild fellow before. He was one of the 9 Emperor Kings, with the strongest strength. He had fought against the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord before, and only the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord and a few antiques dared to speak such arrogant words to him. However, this fellow in front of him was nothing. He had actually threatened him to die, something that the 10 days in Great Yen Jing could not do. Since you know that I am the Ice Emperor, then you should know why I am here. Back then, 10 days ago, Great Yen Jing could not kill me so completely, but you think you can, and who do you think you are? Even if the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord was reborn, he would not be able to do the same. The Ice Emperor sneered. That year, he and Fire Emperor teamed up, but they still could not capture 10 Heavens Supreme Lord, and he was even beaten half to death by him. Chen Xiang reckoned that the person in front of him did not have much strength. Although he was a Ice Emperor, it was useless not to have genuine strength. Oh, you can do it or not with your mouth. Chen Xiang raised his hammer, and with a stride, he jumped over, and fiercely hammered down at 10 Heavens Supreme Lord's handsome face. Ice Emperor was furious. He never thought that this person would be so ruthless. He directly slapped his face. He was someone who loved faces as if they were his own life. Who was he? But he had fought against 10 Heavens Supreme Lord before. His battle experience was extremely rich, and his vigilance was extremely strong, especially when people were attacking his face. He could instantly block them. Of course, Chen Xiang didn't think that he could break Ice Emperor's beautiful pill refining with just a hammer, so when he hit something hard, it wasn't surprising at all. It was a hand. Ice Emperor blocked his own face with his palm, and there was even a layer of ice condensed on top of his palm. Chen Xiang's divine hammer had heavily smashed onto his palm, and only landed a few ice shards. The Go delay hammer did not hit, but Chen Xiang's other hand struck towards Ice Emperor's abdomen. The power of his holy body merged with the dragon power. The force was extremely strong, and after releasing the power of the heaven-blasting palm, the shock wave was even more powerful. Boom! When the palm energy came out, it released an earth-shattering sound that forced Ice Emperor to retreat more than 10 steps. When Chen Xiang saw this, his expression turned serious. Earlier, his heaven-blasting palm directly struck Ice Emperor's body, but Ice Emperor did not manage to block it, and only retreated a few steps. From this, it could be seen how powerful Ice Emperor's body was. Dragon power. And also, the strength of your body. This is very unbalanced. Your body's strength is actually stronger than the dragon power. What's going on? That palm strike just now allowed Ice Emperor to see through Chen Xiang's strength. No matter what time it was, this kind of thing was completely illogical. If you think you can kill me just because you have that kind of power, you're a bit too arrogant, aren't you? With that bit of strength of yours, not to mention killing me, you can't even harm me. The one to die will be you. Ice Emperor thought he saw through Chen Xiang's strength. The Ice Emperor suddenly turned into a cloud of smoke and shot towards Chen Xiang. It was like a beam of light. The powerful force seemed to want to cut a hole in Chen Xiang's body. Chen Xiang brandished the Go delay hammer, and when the mist was about to attack his body, he smashed the hammer forward, sending Ice Emperor flying. You are courting death. Chen Xiang looked at the direction where the mist was falling and snorted coldly. He was currently filled with confidence, because this Ice Emperor was only a lackey. Either finish this fellow or leave this place quickly. You have been here for a while. If the Fire Divine Palace's immortal king comes, you might be sealed again. Long Shui anxiously warned. Chen Xiang also wanted to end the battle quickly, but Ice Emperor was still strong. If he wanted to defeat him, he would need a period of time, but time was of the essence. Chen Xiang also wanted to end the battle quickly, but Ice Emperor was still strong. If he wanted to defeat him, he would need a period of time, but time was of the essence. The Ice Emperor was extremely powerful and could transform into a mist. Even if they hit him, he wouldn't be harmed in the slightest, so it was no wonder that he could live for so long. In the past, when I rampaged through the 9 heavens and 10 earth, almost everyone who provoked me had their souls destroyed. They didn't even have the chance to reincarnate. Today's fate is the same for you. Ice Emperor suddenly appeared behind Chen Xiang, an ice sword in his hand. He pierced towards Chen Xiang like lightning. Sword images erupted, enveloping Chen Xiang and releasing a wave of bone-piercing icy cold power, causing Chen Xiang to almost be frozen and unable to move. That was only you back then. If you were very powerful right now, you wouldn't have fought with me like this. You would have already killed me. Chen Xiang bellowed, and released sound waves that scattered the sword qi, then he brandished the ice sword that flew towards Ice Emperor. Kacha! The ice sword that was condensed from cold energy was shattered by Chen Xiang with a single strike, turning into ice crystals. Chen Xiang's words stabbed into the sore spot of the Ice Emperor. Once a generation of emperors, they looked down upon everything in the world, but now they had fallen into a bitter battle with a nameless N.O. body. He believed that this was all because of the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord, causing his heart to be filled with rage. Quickly, I sensed someone was approaching this place with my divine sense outside, and it was a large group of people. Long Shui shouted anxiously, "We can't kill this guy, let's go quickly." If he were to continue fighting with the person in front of him, he felt that even if he did not die, his vitality would be greatly damaged. Especially that powerful hammer, which was as powerful as the green dragon demon-slain broadsword that he had encountered before. This fellow is also made of flesh and blood. Since that's the case, he should be afraid of poison as well. Chen Xiang thought, and then secretly activated the magical corruption gas in his body. If they missed this one time, it would be difficult for him to kill this Ice Emperor again. If the Ice Emperor regained his original strength, then it would undoubtedly make the Fire Divine Palace even more powerful. Even now I can still kill you. You are just a weakling after all. The lower half of Ice Emperor turned into a cloud of mist, floating towards Chen Xiang, her jade-like hands releasing a biting cold qi, pus. Plussing out a burst of intense cold wind, enveloping Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang suddenly took a deep breath and used all his strength to travel through S.P.A.C., arriving behind the Ice Emperor. However, the Ice Emperor soldier did not notice it, because Chen Xiang had only teleported using an illusion. However, Ice Emperor only sensed it in that instant. When he realized that it was an illusion, his entire body plus varied, and a sense of danger that he had not experienced for many years suddenly emerged in his heart. This feeling of danger was even stronger than the feeling he had when he was facing the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord's attack. Ice Emperor, whose heart was filled with fear, suddenly roared out. However, Chen Xiang had already struck him with his palm. This palm was no small matter. It contained a large amount of magical corruption gas S and drunk G.O.D. powder S. They all poured into Ice Emperor's body, the two strange poisons mixed together. The poison was even more terrifying. After entering Ice Emperor's body, it exploded out, instantly paralyzing Ice Emperor's power. This is... what poison? Ice Emperor was extremely frightened. He did not know what poison it was, but he knew that it was definitely a strange poison. When the two strange poisons were combined together, there was a huge change in the poison's properties. Even in Yanjing, he did not discover what poison it was. The poison that sent you on your way. Chen Xiang bellowed. Ice Emperor was completely powerless. He had not recovered his strength to the peak in the first place, but facing this kind of strange poison that was wreaking havoc, he was simply helpless. At this moment, he suddenly saw a familiar green light. Chen Xiang took out his green dragon demon-slain broadsword and hacked down with his blade. Quickly, accurately and ruthlessly, he hacked off Ice Emperor's head. However, the Ice Emperor did not die immediately. In the primordial era, out of the billions of people who stood out, how could someone who could become an emperor be killed so easily? Even if he was poisoned now, he couldn't decompose his powerful body in such a short time. Green Dragon Demon-Slain Broadsword. Don't think that you can just kill me like that. Even when the 10 Heavens Supreme Lord cut me into 18 pieces, I was able to survive until now. The Ice Emperor asked coldly, but he was still afraid in his heart, because he did not expect Chen Xiang to force him into this kind of danger so quickly. Go to H.E.L. and ask those guys who were killed by me. If you say that you were killed by a green dragon demon-slain broadsword, they will definitely take the initiative to tell you who I am." Chun Xiang waved his hand and scattered a layer of grayish-black powder. When it landed on the two halves of Ice Emperor's body, it immediately released a cloud of black smoke that was actually corroding Ice Emperor's powerful fleshly body. Just a moment ago, this Ice Emperor was filled with a large number of magical corruption gas, and his body was not immediately decayed by the magical corruption gas, but right now, he was being quickly corroded by the powder. Is a mix of G.O.D. powder and something else. B.A.S.T.A.R.D.U.D.A.M. Ned B.A.S.T.A.R.D. Your fate will definitely be even worse than 10 Heaven's Supreme Lords. The Ice Emperor wailed a few times as his body slowly melted. These God Eclipse powder were all refined by Chun Xiang after he mixed a large number of them into the God Eclipse powder. He had refined them for a very long time, and only managed to refine a pinch of them. Back then, when devil-suppressing Heavenly Venerable was unable to exterminate the poisonous beast Devil God, he was also killed by this move of Chun Xiang's. In this aspect, even Great Yen Jing would probably be inferior to him for 10 days. If you have to blame yourself, you can only blame the idiot's Fire Divine Palace. If it wasn't for them helping you revive and offend me at the same time, you might still be able to live for a very long time. Su Yun said in a low voice. Chun Xiang looked at the black-purple liquid on the ground and released a blazing fire, burning it completely. These people had originally wanted to rush into the warehouse, but after hearing from the Ice Emperor's sound transmission, they were told to wait outside. When they found out that the Ice Emperor was going to personally take action, these people naturally felt at ease, but they did not know that the person the Ice Emperor was facing was Chun Xiang. Otherwise, they would not be waiting outside with a relaxed expression. The Hall Master of the Fire Divine Palace came. When he stepped into the underground palace, he felt that something was amiss, and his face immediately turned deathly pale. Only he could clearly feel that the Ice Emperor's aura had disappeared. The fact that the Ice Emperor would not actually died, made the Hall Master find it hard to accept, and he almost lost his balance, because he knew what this meant. Even though the 9 Emperor 10 Kings had not received any news for many years, they were still alive, and it was very difficult for them to die, but now a Ice Emperor had fallen here. Chun Xiang had already left the underground palace, and it was a pity that he did not take out the Ice Emperor's heavenly pellet, but even if he did, it would be useless. When he poured in the magical corruption gas S and drunk G.O.D. powder S, the heavenly pellet was the first place to be poisoned, and the poison should have been condensed there. The matter of reviving the Ice Emperor was originally something that was kept a secret. More than half of the Ice Emperor had resurrected, but they had died again, and this time they had truly died without a complete corpse, their souls scattered. To the Emperor of a generation, this was a tragic death. This Bingyan Jing was killed by his good friend the Fire Emperor. If it wasn't for the fact that the Fire Emperor was in a rush to revive the Ice Emperor so that they could rule the 9 heavens and 10 earth, I might not have ped into you. Long Shui laughed. That old fellow from Fire Divine Palace nearly fainted when he found out about Ice Emperor. The good show is yet to come. Who asked him to seal me, and he still wants Xian Xian to threaten me. He's the one courting death, don't blame me. Chun Xiang dashed among the profound cold ancient realm. Currently he was in a very good mood. Originally, Chun Xiang had planned to return to the profound ice city, but he saw a group of people on his way there. Amongst them, he recognized one of them, who was the Bai Xian who sold Gold Dragon Ice S at the Profound Bing S meeting back then. This guy knew of a hidden river that specialized in producing high-quality Profound Bing. Chun Xiang discovered this group of people from afar, but this group of people did not see him. Seeing that this group of people's expressions were off, he immediately hid himself. Chun Xiang discovered this group of people from afar, but this group of people did not see him. Seeing that this group of people's expressions were off, he immediately hid himself. This Bai Xian seems to have been threatened by someone. Looking at his face, he seems to be at odds with this group of people. Long Shui said. That's right. It was because Chen Xiang had discovered this that he had immediately hidden himself. Bai Xian walked in the front amidst the snow and ice, while the person behind him had a fierce expression, looking extremely unfriendly. Bai Xian's expression was tense, and from time to time, he would even be shouted at by the people behind him. Sure enough, within the group, a person shouted, "I'll give you 10 more days. If you can't bring us to find a high-quality profound being, we'll chop your son's head off." This guy is definitely selling high-quality profound being everywhere, which is why he got himself into trouble. This guy really wants the spar to go crazy. Right now, he was thinking of how to help this Bai Xian. He was sure that this Bai Xian could definitely find those high-quality profound being. The man who threatened Bai Xian earlier suddenly took out a square cauldron, and after he shook it, he heard a shout coming from inside. "Don't worry, within 10 days, I will definitely bring you all to find the profound being. Don't torture my son anymore," Bai Xian immediately said. His face was filled with anger as he looked at the square cauldron in pain. Bai Xian's son was trapped inside the square cauldron. Upon seeing this, Chen Xiang immediately flew over, and then used form displacement shadow to bring the square cauldron over. The man holding the square cauldron was originally very proud of himself, but right now, his expression was extremely ugly. The square cauldron that was originally in his hands had actually disappeared. "Who the hell are you? Don't you know that this is my great profound being's territory? Quickly kneel down and kowtow a few times. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving this place and actually disturb my sleep." Chen Xiang gave an old man's voice that sounded like it carried a strong sense of anger. He also released a strong killing intent that caused people to be afraid. Great profound being ancestor, who was this? That group of people had never heard of him before, but they knew that this old fellow was very strong. "Don't you have ears? Didn't you hear what I just said? Quickly kneel down and kowtow, otherwise you will die." Chen Xiang shouted angrily, increasing his killing intent, causing the ice to become even colder. They had been robbed for no reason and had to kneel down and kowtow. These people were pretty strong to be able to come here. Even if the other party was very strong, they would not give in just like that. "You're not going to kneel, right?" Chen Xiang's voice was incomparably ice-cold and continuously sneered. "In that case, all of you should never kneel, only the dead do not kneel." Chen Xiang suddenly appeared out of nowhere, holding onto the hammer of God. Just as it appeared, before everyone could even see his face, they could already feel a strong burst of killing intent. The strongest amongst them was only able to pass through the nirvana tribulation. Even the worldly immortal stage experts could be easily killed, let alone people at his level. Chen Xiang's divine hammer swept horizontally across, sweeping towards the few people in front of them. Before those people could regain their senses, the ice-cold divine hammer had already struck their heads. In the blink of an eye, the upper body of the person hit by the God hammer was shattered by the shockwave released by the God hammer. "I told you all to kneel, but you all didn't kneel. There's no chance for that now." While Chen Xiang was speaking, a few more people's bodies exploded due to the divine hammer, dying on the spot. They died in extremely miserable states, and just looking at them would cause one's scalp to go numb. "Don't kill us. We are disciples of the Sacred Fire School, and our relations Hi+P with the Sacred Fire School is shallow. If you offend us..." Before the man could finish speaking, Chen Xiang heavily smashed the top of his head, and a powerful force surged into the soft body, SMAs. Hi+ing it into pieces and turning it into a blood mist which drifted away with the wind. "I hate Fire Divine Palace the most. It seems like I will definitely visit him when I have time." Chen Xiang waved his divine hammer and killed these people who were showing off their might ruthlessly. The snow-white ice was dyed red, but it was quickly covered by snow again. Chen Xiang took out the square cauldron and released the person imprisoned inside. Bai Xian watched on dumbfoundedly from the side. He was not afraid of death, but he was worried about his own son. When he saw that Chen Xiang did not have any intentions of killing him, and even released his son, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Bai Xian was moved. He almost kneeled down to express his gratitude. "Your son isn't too strong, hurry up and bring him away from here," Chen Xiang said indifferently. He had the appearance of an expert. "Thank you, senior, for saving me." Chen Xiang waved his hand, then asked, "I want to ask you something. Have you heard of Chen Xiang before?" Bai Xian's heart jumped, and he anxiously nodded his head. "Of course, I've heard of it. How is he now?" "He's a good friend of mine. I only found out that he's trapped in a city in profound cold ancient realm. However, after I entered the depths of profound cold ancient realm, I delayed him for a while, but I don't know if he's still alive or not." The reason why Chen Xiang said this was so that when he looked for Bai Xian in the future, this Bai Xian would work with him even more enthusiastically and bring him to look for those profound beings. He has been trapped for almost 10 years, and although he did not die, he might be trapped in the future. There is a hall master of the Fire Divine Palace guarding that city, and it is said that the hall master is one of the top experts in the immortal world. If Senior really wants to save him, I hope you can consider it further. Chen Xiang nodded his head, then floated away as he ran towards the profound ice city, instantly disappearing without a trace. That square cauldron is very powerful. It can be used to trap people. The formations inside are very old, and the methods used to refine them are all lost, and the materials are very special. Even in Heaven Realm, it would be hard to find. Su Meiyao said. "Looks like that sacred fire school is quite powerful." "There is such a thing, but it's mine now." Chen Xiang chuckled. "In the future, I can use this thing to capture people. These things are specially used to trap people. There are some sharp thorns on the walls. When this cauldron is shaken, the people inside can easily be pierced." Su Meiyao laughed. The square cauldron was only the size of a brick, but it could become bigger. Chen Xiang erased the consciousness above the four-legged cauldron, and then dripped a drop of blood on it to confirm that it was his master. He came to the profound ice city, and looked at the sealing formation from a close distance. The seal formation was still activated with a large number of spar, and the hall master of the Fire Divine Palace had yet to return. He was probably searching for clues within the underground palace in order to find the one that killed the Ice Emperor. Chen Xiang had investigated some things regarding the Sacred Fire School in the profound Ice City, and as expected, his relations Hi+P with the Fire Divine Palace was very good, and his overall strength was also very strong. He was a refiner sect. When they were attacking the Chen Martial Continent, they would always want to take over the mines in the Divine Weapons Heavenly Country, and they wanted to capture the Divine Weapons Heavenly Country even more, because the Divine Weapons Heavenly Country was also a very strong refiner sect. There were rumors that Leader's leader had sought out Fire Divine Palace's Hall Master several times, and asked him to bring some people to the Chen Martial Continent to kill them. This was because only when the Fire Divine Palace's Hall Master personally acts, would they be able to easily take down the Chen Martial Continent. Fire Divine Palace had not made any movements during these 9 years, but Chen Xiang knew that Fire Divine Palace had a 10-year time limit. If the White Tiger did not come to save him after sealing him for 10 years, the Fire Divine Palace would attack the Chen Martial Continent. Now that Chen Xiang had come out, he would definitely not allow such a thing to happen. The Chen Martial Continent was his route. He had walked out from there, and definitely would not turn that place into a battlefield. Sacred Fire School, thank you for allowing me to do something. Chen Xiang had already investigated the location of the Sacred Fire School. He planned to take advantage of the fact that Fire Divine Palace's vitality was severely injured and kill him. Before the Fire Divine Palace attacks the Chen Martial Continent, he must weaken the Fire Divine Palace's power as soon as possible, and this Sacred Fire School is the #1 subordinate of the Fire Divine Palace. Now that Chen Xiang knows about it, he definitely won't let the Sacred Fire School follow the Fire Divine Palace and attack the Chen Martial Continent 1 year later. The forces that forge weapons should have quite a few good things, right? Chen Xiang looked at the square cauldron in his hand. He felt that this Sacred Fire School must have a lot of these antique. Chen Xiang had been sealed for 9 years, but these 9 years were the period when the Sacred Fire School rose to prominence. At this time, the Sacred Fire School had already become well known by many, and in order to earn more spars, he also created a huge city, which was specifically used to sell the weapons and treasures refined by the Sacred Fire School. Chen Xiang had been sealed for 9 years, but these 9 years were the period when the Sacred Fire School rose to prominence. At this time, the Sacred Fire School had already become well known by many, and in order to earn more spars, he also created a huge city, which was specifically used to sell the weapons and treasures refined by the Sacred Fire School. Holy Flame City was very hot, because this city was very close to the Sacred Fire Mountain, and Sacred Fire School was built on top of it. It was said that the Sacred Fire Mountain was a very magical volcano, and the Sacred Fire School already controlled the volcano, so they could extract flames from the volcano to refine. Also, within the depths of the volcano, there were many precious ores. However, without a certain level of strength, it was difficult for people to enter the depths of the volcano. The Sacred Fire Mountain was a sacred mountain that many cultivators who cultivated fire yearned for. Because this mountain released a very rich innate chi of the fire attribute, it was extremely beneficial to cultivators who trained in fire, so most of the people in Holy Yen City trained in fire. Even though this place was very hot, this group of people could not feel it. There were many shops selling weapons and treasures here. As Chen Xiang walked on the streets, many people called out to him from afar, because those shop owners could tell that he had just entered the city. Although Chen Xiang was an alchemist, he still had a certain level of understanding towards artifact forging. Lu Menger and Dongfang Xinyue were both master refiners. He had spent a period of time with these two girls before, and had also researched some profound spirit grain and great formations with them. When he was free, he would take out the divine book that had records of many powerful great formations. Although the Suzaku divine weapon was at Lu Menger's place, if he had a relations Hi+P with him, it would still be impossible for him to take one away, so he could only refine a new one. The new Suzaku divine weapon already had the blueprints and materials, but there was one less Go-delay blacksmith who could make divine weapons. At this moment, the hammer of Go-D was also with him. He felt that if he wanted to refine a new Suzaku divine weapon in the future, he could only rely on him, Lu Menger and Dongfang Xinyue. When Chen Xiang entered the city, he saw a very grand building at the center of the city. Without asking, he knew that it was the Sacred Fire School's shop. Just as he was about to enter the shop, he heard a painful scream. Many people outside immediately looked towards the door, only to see a few middle-aged men dressed in Sacred Fire School robes carrying a young man with wounds all over his body. When he reached the door, he threw the young man out, allowing the young man to roll down the stairs. This is the result of coming to our Sacred Flame shop to cause trouble. You actually used a broken weapon on us, the Sacred Fire School, to be blamed for your skill in smithing. This is your own business, it has nothing to do with us. After that, the man threw out a broken saber beside the boy who was howling on the ground. When the others saw this, they kept quiet, shook their heads, and sighed. Then, they went back to work on their own period of time. The youth had bought a knife from Sacred Flame's store, but it was broken. The youth felt cheated, so he came to ask for an explanation, and was then thrown out after a fierce beating. Chen Xiang immediately understood after seeing it, and it just so happened that he was about to come to the Sacred Fire School to find trouble, so he was not afraid of making enemies with the Sacred Fire School. So when he walked over to the teenager's side, he actually took out a relived Dan and placed it in the teenager's mouth. The few burly men at the entrance of Sacred Flame's store also frowned. Someone actually dared to save the man who was beaten up by Sacred Fire School in front of them. This was clearly not giving him face. He was not very strong, and relived Dan were of great use to him. After he recovered, he looked at the big-sized man from the Sacred Flame shop angrily, but he had been beaten up once before, so he was not as impulsive as before. He quickly thanked Chen Xiang. "This big brother, your name is called. I owe you a relived Dan, and in the future, even if I have to fight with my life on the line, I will definitely return it to you." The relived Dan was extremely precious to him, and eating them for him would be equivalent to saving his life. Otherwise, with his injuries, if he dragged things out a little, he would be crippled. "It's just a piece of relived Dan, don't take it to heart." Chen Xiang laughed. If it were not for the fact that he casually took out a relived Dan, the big-sized men from Sacred Fire School would have already come to find trouble. "Big brother, do you want to go in and buy something?" "Please don't go, the things they sell us are just a bit of trash." Seeing the big men staring at him viciously, the young man mustered up his courage and warned Chen Xiang. "Little rascal, are you courting death? This is equivalent to SMA's HI+ing our Sacred Fire School's reputation." One of the big-sized men shouted in anger. He wanted to go up, but Chen Xiang glared at him fiercely, releasing a burst of power, causing the big-sized man to break out in cold sweat. He retreated a few steps and his legs became weak. Seeing that there was someone with decent strength who was going to fight with the Sacred Fire School, the crowd looked on with interest from the side. Chen Xiang picked up the broken blade on the ground and flicked his finger. A ding sound could be heard, and the thick blade actually cracked, turning into a piece of broken metal. "It really is some trash. Little brother, I really bought this from the Sacred Fire School?" Chen Xiang asked. With a light flick of his hand, a seemingly STURDY piece of steel shattered into pieces. Everyone couldn't help but doubt his words. Furthermore, for many years there had been a lot of people here asking for an explanation, but they were all beaten up and thrown out in the end. "That's right, they took my 500,000 spar. I used a rhinoceros horn to increase my strength a bit and the blade broke. I came to find them to argue, but they beat me up without saying a word." The youth knew that the big brother in front of him had extraordinary strength. It was as if he had grabbed onto a lifesaver and was narrating his grievances. Chen Xiang laughed coldly. "This trash is actually willing to accept 500,000 spar. If you go to Divine Weapon's heavenly country, this kind of trash is definitely not allowed to be sold, because it's equivalent to plotting against someone for money and killing them. This Sacred Fire School is actually trying to say that he wants to compete with the Divine Weapon sect, so it turns out that it's just this kind of trash. It's really funny." To say such words at someone else's door was clearly to ruin the situation. The Sacred Fire School men were all kind of bullies. They did not dare to make a move against Chen Xiang, and just as they were about to enter the shop to call for help, Chen Xiang anxiously shouted to stop them. "Just now, you did it to this little brother. He was speaking the truth. Your things are indeed nothing. He only came here to demand an explanation, and you guys almost crippled him." Those big-sized men were probably used to being rude and unreasonable. Their hearts were filled with rage as they glared at Chen Xiang, and one of them shouted loudly, "Then what do you want to do?" "A tooth for a tooth, of course." As Chen Xiang spoke, he had already turned into a gust of wind and flew up. No one saw how he made his move, but those few large men had already been blown into the shop. As they laid on the ground, they howled, and the shattered bones on their bodies could clearly be seen. "Even if you hit a dog, you still have to look at the owner. You're making a ruckus in front of our Sacred Flame shop. Aren't you looking down on us too much? A middle-aged man dressed in black walked out from the shop, his face dark with anger. Chen Xiang laughed coldly. Your sacred fire school even dupes children to sell such inferior things to others. This is equivalent to letting others die. Such a power like yours, in my eyes, is worse than dogs. At least dogs will bite people, they will not lie, and they will not kill people. Did you come here specifically to cause trouble? The middle-aged man's voice became even colder. No, I originally wanted to buy a powerful weapon, but I didn't expect to meet you bullying the weak at your doorstep. I can't stand it. Chen Xiang took out his blade and said to the middle-aged man, This is refined by your sacred fire school, right? This kind of trash can be sold for 500,000 spar. That's right, it's from our sacred fire school. Even with 500,000 spar we can only buy this kind of thing. The middle-aged man laughed coldly. Looking at this break, it should be because you used your powerful strength to smash it. A weapon of this level obviously cannot withstand your strength. If it were me, I would also be able to easily break it. I used 300,000 spar to purchase refining materials from you and then forge a blade. I promise you, you won't easily break it. Chen Xiang was indeed not an expert, but he was very confident in this. The person who was in charge of this sacred flame shop was definitely not too weak. This middle-aged man was someone who had undergone the 8 tribulations of nirvana and was considered very strong in the current heaven. To a person at this level, a weapon made from 300,000 spar, it was too inferior. The person who was in charge of this sacred flame shop was definitely not too weak. This middle-aged man was someone who had undergone the 8 tribulations of nirvana and was considered very strong in the current heaven. To a person at this level, a weapon made from 300,000 spar, it was too inferior. When he said those words at the entrance of Sacred Flame's shop, many people thought that Chen Xiang was just spouting nonsense. Therefore, when the middle-aged man from the Sacred Flame shop heard him say those words, he laughed out loud. Forget about the 300,000 spar, even if you use the materials bought by the 300 million spar, don't think of refining a weapon that I can't easily destroy. Chen Xiang said. Of course you can make the weapons I refine rotten, but I can guarantee that you won't be able to easily make it messy. If you make the materials for 300 million spar, I'm afraid that I won't be able to make anything, because I'm not very proficient in equipment forging. The reason I'm saying this is to let everyone know how your Sacred Flame shop is trying to cheat people. This kind of thing that can't be used can sell for 500,000 spar. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't sell this kind of trash to harm people. The middle-aged man continued to laugh out loud. Since you are not proficient in smithing, and you dare speak such arrogant words about pills, it's really laughable. Let me say it again, in our Sacred Flame shop, the weapons of the 500,000 spar are exactly this kind of goods. Furthermore, it's much better than other shops. If the weapon you refined with 300,000 spar can really make me use a lot of effort to break it, I'll give you the entire Sacred Flame shop. Chen Xiang was overjoyed, but he shook his head with a smile. Giving the shop to me, I don't think you can make such a decision yet. Isn't it just a shop? My father is a leader of the Sacred Fire School. You tell me, there are so many people watching here. I will not go back on my word, but if you are unable to do so, you will have to kneel in front of my shop for 3 days and 3 nights, and you will have to kowtow to us and admit your wrongs. Seeing how the situation had developed, the teenager was worried, afraid that he would harm Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang said with a smile, No problem, I will pick out the materials worth 300,000 spar s from your shop. I hope your shop will not be too dark, or else it will be really difficult. The middle-aged man sneered and said, You are really an outsider. You think that refining is too simple, although the materials for refining are cheap. Refiner is not something that can be obtained so easily. Chen Xiang asked, Then, do you think that refining and refining pills are even more difficult? That person replied, Of course it's to refine pills, But even if alchemist wanted to refine pills, he would still need a period of time to familiarize himself with the process. I happen to be a alchemist. After Chen Xiang finished speaking, he stepped into the shop, and the middle-aged man's expression changed slightly. If it was anyone else, this middle-aged man might not be so worried, but he knew that there were definitely some basic foundations in the refining of alchemists. He was also clear that after many alchemists had become refiner, they would have more accomplishments, and some would even be able to refine pills. The materials needed to forge a low-grade spirit artifact were worthy of its reputation. There were many, and not a single bit was scarce, materials needed to forge a low-grade spirit artifact. The young man's saber was a third-phase spirit weapon, and this third-phase spirit weapon was based on the formations within the weapons and magic treasures. Generally, a third-phase spirit weapon would have 3 ordinary formations within it, and the refining materials were all ordinary. Looking at the cost, the blade that the kid bought probably only has 50,000 spars, and the materials used are all very crude. The arrays that were carved on them are not precise enough, they are crooked and look like they were made by a newbie. To think that such a thing could actually sell for 500,000 spar, and was said to be a third-phase spirit treasure, but the criteria were met, and the quality standards are too low, at most it could only be considered ordinary. Chen Xiang shook his head and said as he looked at the materials. His words caused the people behind him to be slightly moved, especially the refiner, because, if they wanted to see through this kind of problem, they would usually be people with rich experience in refining. When the people who came in to watch the show saw that the Sacred Fire School did not refute them, they secretly remembered that right now, they had a very bad impression of the Sacred Fire School, especially the people who were often here, and they knew that there were a lot of people who had come to cause trouble in the past. The young man could be considered lucky, taking that piece of trash to beat up the demon beasts, and even coming back to plead for their lives. When they thought about this, many people could not help but ver. If they trusted the Sacred Fire School very much and thought that they bought a good item from him, if it was not reliable during battles, it would definitely kill them. Everyone knew that divine weapons, heavenly countries' weapons and treasures were of high quality, and the price would not be too low either. It was just that it would be difficult to get to divine weapons heavenly country. If a normal person wanted to teleport there, they would have to pay a large sum of money. 150 kilograms of profound gang for 100,000 spar. I want 300 kilograms. Chen Xiang planned to use profound gang as the most common ingredient to refine it. It was relatively cheaper, and he could even get a lot of them. Just using profound gang is that even possible? The characteristics of profound gang were that they were hard and strdy, and not easy to break. The drawback was that they were hard to temper, so many of the refiners would add something else to the process of smelting the profound gang, making it easier for the profound gang to forge. As long as it's a profound gang, give me 300 kilograms. Chen Xiang saw the man selling the profound gang and shouted again. No one knew what Chen Xiang was planning to do. For a 300,000 spar to buy a 300 gene profound gang would mean that they would not be able to buy anything else. Furthermore, to refine a blade, one would not even need to use all 300 gene of profound gang. Everyone suspected that Chen Xiang was planning to use some of the profound gang to practice. The son of the Sacred Fire School was called Yang Shuangquan. As the son of the leader, his strength could be said to be close to his father's even though he was young, and he might not even be able to take over the Sacred Fire School in the future. But he did not know what Chen Xiang was planning to do. There should be a place for me to forge artifacts here. Chen Xiang asked. Of course, but we need to watch it on the spot in case you try to cheat us. Yang Shuangquan said. This is what we should do. Bring me along quickly. Yang Shuangquan signaled an old man with his eyes, and upon seeing the old man nod his head, he brought Chen Xiang in through a large door, followed by some people who came to watch the commotion. However, these people were of high status, and were all shop owners nearby, and Yang Shuangquan had tacitly allowed them to enter, in order to supervise Chen Xiang. He had always been by Chen Xiang's side the entire time, and although he was young, silence was his best method when encountering such a situation. He could not interrupt him at all, and he was also worried that the Sacred Fire School would take revenge on Chen Xiang for this matter. They arrived at a very large forging room. There was a very large forging table here, and one could tell that this place was used for many refiners to work together to refine large-scale treasures. Chen Xiang did not have a furnace, which made the refiner to sneer when they saw that. Without a furnace, he could not refine profound gangs. If he could not smelt them, he would not be able to temper them, but Chen Xiang was extremely calm. He had thought about this a long time ago. There was a forging platform here. He tried it out and found that its specifications were very standard. It could withstand a high temperature and strong impact force. He placed those scattered 300 kilograms of profound gang S on the huge stage. Then, he took a deep breath and released a strong flame from his palm, roasting the profound gang S on the stage. He actually didn't plan on using a furnace to directly burn it like this. Just how long would it take for the furnace to burn? If there was a furnace, then he could use the furnace's formation to strengthen the flame and increase the refining speed. Just as everyone was sneering in their hearts, those snow-white profound gang turned red. Profound gang S were notoriously hard to forge, and hard to smelt. 100 kilograms of profound gang S was already enough, let alone 300 kilograms. Refiner, who was initially mocking them from the side, could not even laugh at this moment because they could tell that Chen Xiang's flame was extremely strong. Someone who had this flame was definitely not someone to be trifled with. Even with Fire Soul, it was difficult to achieve this step. Previously, Chen Xiang said that he was a pill refiner, but everyone disagreed with him. They thought that he was just a mediocre alchemist. Now that they saw his powerful flames, based on his unfathomable strength, they felt that he was just an old man who had lived for God knows how many years. Previously, Chen Xiang said that he was a pill refiner, but everyone disagreed with him. They thought that he was just a mediocre alchemist. Now that they saw his powerful flames, based on his unfathomable strength, they felt that he was just an old man who had lived for God knows how many years. It was Chen Xiang's first time refining, but he had instructed his theories on refining to a great extent. Previously, he had obtained a refining treasure book, and later, a divine book, in addition to the fact that he had also been with Lu Menger and Dongfang Xinyue before. Such low-level things were not difficult for him at all. The next scene caused everyone to be dumbstruck, only to see Chen Xiang bellowing, stretching out her pair of meat palms and kneading all of the burnt profound gang that were scattered all over the place. Even though there was a distance between them and Chen Xiang, they could still feel the terrifying temperature of the profound gang, but now there was actually a person who touched this kind of thing with his hand. The most unbelievable thing was that these pieces of profound gang that were burnt red were like dough, being kneaded together by Chen Xiang in a few breaths, becoming a big ball. For him who had trained his flesh to the body of heavenly sage, this was not difficult at all. It was indeed like kneading dough. After kneading all the profound gang into a ball, Chen Xiang took out a black iron hammer. It looked extremely ordinary, but it was something that the divine craftsman had used before. Master Ji. Oh, delay craftsman, I've finally let you down with your hammer. I've finally used it to forge weapons. Chen Xiang thought. He had previously used this hammer as a weapon, and many people's heads had been struck by this hammer before, causing him to feel that he was unworthy of using this hammer as a weapon. The hammer of God was of course extraordinary. In the past, Chen Xiang had also needed a very long time to raise it up and casually wave it about. Dong, dong, dong. Chen Xiang used his hands to grab onto the profound gang. After flipping and rhythmic beating, it took only a few movements to shape it into a line. It's as simple as hammering your head, Qin Xiang thought. Every swing of Qin Xiang's hammer was equivalent to beating the hearts of the refiners beside him. Because the profound gang had actually become so weak in Qin Xiang's hands, with just a few strikes, it had become deformed. Yang Shuangquan's face started to turn ugly. He had already understood what Qin Xiang was going to do with the 300-kilogram profound gang. As expected, just as Yang Shuang had thought, when Qin Xiang had finished forging the entire piece of profound gang, he folded it out and started heating it up with flames. The originally large piece of profound gang, after being repeatedly folded and refined by him in this way, gradually became smaller. This also meant that the remaining profound gang's quality was extremely high, and the impurities within had also been removed. I can also fold it a few times. Before every folding and forging, I just need to inscribe some formation runes. Discovered that refining this kind of primary weapon was not as difficult as refining it. At most, it would be relatively easy for him to get started, and there were many ingredients, and it was just as easy as he had imagined. However, Qin Xiang knew that this was only a primary weapon. If he refining those high-level treasures or things, it would be much more difficult, similar to refining a high-level pellet. With so many profound gang tempered together, it must be very heavy. I will first add an array pattern that can lighten the weight. Qin Xiang would look at the array markings on the green dragon demon-slain broadsword whenever he had something to do, and would study them. Furthermore, he had consumed the memories of a few array masters before, so he had a rather high attainments in formations. This type of array was not difficult for him at all. He quickly finished drawing, and the next thing to note was that he couldn't mess up the array patterns during the folding or forging process, otherwise it would be useless. Previously, he had engraved a mysterious spirit grain on a tiny pellet. That was much more difficult than this, so right now, he was extremely proficient in it. The second rune is the rune that can quickly absorb the innate qi of its user, and at the same time, absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth from the outside world. When Qin Xiang finished drawing the second rune, the quality of the profound gang was already extremely high. When it reached that level, the value of the profound gang far exceeded the value of the 300 kilograms, and could be considered as a kind of rare artifact forging material. Flames were powerful, his flesh was strong, and with a delay hammer, forget about profound gang, he could even take down some of the more stubborn materials. When incinerating these materials for artifact forging, it was easier to obtain than when burning spiritual medicines. Burning the materials for artifact forging didn't require too much control over the temperature, but when burning spiritual medicines, even the slightest difference in temperature could lead to failure. Everyone knew that Qin Xiang was drawing an array pattern, but they didn't know what kind of array he was drawing. The third rune is a rune that can strengthen the innate qi, allowing it to have explosive power. Then there's the fourth rune. It's also the more complicated one. When blocked, it can offset a large portion of other people's strength. It turned out to be 4 segments, 4 runes. Was this even the cost of 300,000 gold coins? Not only that, but it had happened so quickly, only 4 hours had passed, said from start to finish. Everyone was very clear that if this saber was created successfully, its quality would far exceed that of the 5th and 6th stages sold in this shop. Whether it was refining pills or refining weapons, had to be meticulous. He had already completed all 4 stages, and the only thing left was to look like a blade, and in the end, he just had to sharpen his blade a little, making it easier to look at it. This last step was not easy either. Alchemists who came to watch the other shops secretly estimated the price of the blade in their hearts. They believed that it would at least sell for 2 million spar, and even if Yang Wushuang wanted to destroy it, it would definitely not be easy. At this moment, Yang Wushuang felt a lot of pressure, because he had said before that he could easily get any weapon at this price, But the blade made from 300,000 spar was not that easy to break apart with so many of them hammering together. After 6 hours, a fourth stage, extremely high-quality blade was completed. Chen Xiang poured innate qi into it, immediately releasing a white guan xia, which looked like a treasure. A fourth-level spirit weapon. Chen Xiang said indifferently, "Now, please come and try it and see if it can be broken so easily. This is the first time I have refined this spirit artifact. I also want to see how good I am." The first round, you must be joking. But just now there were some people who saw how unfamiliar Chen Xiang was. Even a new refiner would not be that proficient in it, but as a whole, he was extremely proficient in forging this stage 4 spirit weapon in 6 hours. Even some old refiner who had been refining this for many years would probably admit defeat. Yang Wushuang's forehead was full of sweat. Right now there were many people watching him. If he used all his strength, he might be able to destroy this blade, but it would not be easy. Looking at the blade that was handed over, Yang Wushuang clenched his fists tightly. He wanted nothing more than to kill Chen Xiang in front of him and end this matter that made him distressed. If he lost, then this shop would have to be handed over. This was a very big shop. If he handed it over, the losses would be huge, and all the materials inside were also his own, like the treasures and weapons placed on the counter. After Yang Wushuang received the blade, he felt that it was not light. He channeled the innate qi, and discovered that the runes were carved very well, and the runes were not ordinary runes either. "Not bad, it's a good blade," Yang Wushuang praised from the bottom of his heart, but his expression suddenly turned cold. Wielding the blade, he slashed out at Chen Xiang. The blade's body erupted with flames, releasing a burst of intense heat from the blade qi, enveloping Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang was furious. He did not expect Yang Wushuang to actually plan to kill him and avoid handing over the shop. He immediately dodged, but the blade suddenly feeded and slashed towards the youth who was not far away. "Bast! Ard! Chen Xiang shouted angrily as he traveled through SPAC, his fist dispersing the force. Everyone immediately panicked. This Yang Wushuang was actually such a rascal, and even more so, couldn't afford to lose. "Everyone, don't go," Yang Wushuang said coldly. At the same time, the iron doors of the hall were closed, and a few extremely strong-looking old men came in. "You can't afford to lose this." Chen Xiang stood in front of the youth, clenching his fists so hard that they made cluck sounds. Yang Wushuang laughed coldly. "Humph, you are clearly a very strong refiner, yet you deliberately came here to find trouble. You have plans, and kept saying that it's your first time refining and that your mouth was full of lies. You are trying to cheat us out of this shop. You are not qualified to talk about winning or losing with me. Today you and that brat are both going to die here. You guys are going to work together to find fault with us. You have to die. Don't think that our sacred fire school is a soft persimmon." Yang Wushuang really couldn't afford to lose, especially this huge shop. If he really gave it to Chen Xiang, it would be such a great loss, so he made the decision just now to discuss this with the old man in the shop through sound transmission, trapping everyone here and eliminating Chen Xiang and the young man. Then, he would coerce and tempt those who came to watch the event to not spread the news. Yang Wushuang really couldn't afford to lose, especially this huge shop. If he really gave it to Chen Xiang, it would be such a great loss, so he made the decision just now to discuss this with the old man in the shop through sound transmission, trapping everyone here and eliminating Chen Xiang and the young man. Then, he would coerce and tempt those who came to watch the event to not spread the news. In short, they felt that with the Sacred Fire School's current prestige, it wouldn't be difficult for them to cover the entire sky in Holy Yen City. Now that they had so many people, they felt that it would be easy to take Chen Xiang down. Moreover, they could tell that Chen Xiang wanted to protect a youth with a weaker strength. Chen Xiang's face was gloomy and cold. The people of Sacred Fire School were so despicable, they did not have the demeanor of a big sect. The others thought the same. The round ones can be said to be square, but no matter what you say, this shop belongs to me. Also, don't even think about living. Chen Xiang's killing intent surged. He suddenly roared out and waved the divine hammer in his hand, releasing the extremely powerful innate qi out of his body and merged with the power released from his body, transforming into a burst of intense and scorching gale, blowing towards Sacred Fire School and the group. Just as they were about to make a hasty move to block it, they realized that Chen Xiang had already disappeared. However, they could not attack the young man because they had to break through the scorching gale that was coming their way. Chen Xiang, who had disappeared, suddenly appeared beside the few elders. He brandished his divine hammer and smashed it fiercely towards the heads of the few elders as if he had just struck a profound gang, instantly striking them a few times, and with each strike struck the heads of the elders. Everyone could clearly see that the heads of the old men exploded like watermelons after being hit, splattering blood-red objects in all directions. The old guy from the Sacred Fire School was not weak, but he could not withstand a single blow. Chen Xiang's strength had already shocked everyone. Quickly capture that brat. I'll stall him. Seeing Chen Xiang's strength, Yang Wushuang was shocked and shouted out. Seeing the few elders rush HI+ing towards the young man, Chen Xiang immediately used form displacement shadow to bring the young man to his side. Yang Wushuang held onto a blazing gigantic blade and leaped towards Chen Xiang SLA's HI+ing out with a very powerful blade, causing a wave of heat, and enveloped Chen Xiang and the young man. Chen Xiang immediately released a profound Wacover hood, enveloping himself and the young man. At the same time, he brandished his hammer and smashed it towards the gigantic warblade. Heaven-shaking hammer. The way Chen Xiang used the heaven-blasting palm gave his hammer a terrifying vibrating power. Amidst the waves of fire, a clear sound rang out and that seemingly very powerful warblade was actually smashed into pieces by that pitch-black, broken iron hammer. Yang Wushuang was so furious that he thought that his own powerful treasured blade had been destroyed, his treasured blade had been shattered, and even his tiger's mouth had been cracked. The bones in one of his palms had practically shattered, and at this moment, he could already feel that his opponent's strength had far surpassed his. The power of Chen Xiang's body of heavenly sage was not a joke. The strength of his body could behead a worldly immortal, let alone a person who had just crossed the 8th level of Nirvana realm. What was worse, Chen Xiang had even used the innate qi, because his heart was also filled with rage. No one can save you. Chen Xiang bellowed, suddenly appearing on top of Yang Wushuang's head, holding the divine hammer with both of his hands. He fiercely smashed it down. Die! Chen Xiang roared in anger as the divine hammer came cross. HI+ing down, releasing an extremely strong pressure that caused all the power in Yang Wushuang's body to crumble. With a pu sound, Yang Wushuang's body was struck by the berserk energy, causing blood to spurt everywhere. The old men who were planning to rush over suddenly had their legs weaken. Leader's son was actually dead, moreover dead in such a miserable manner. Now that they all understood Chen Xiang's strength, killing them was as easy as pinching an ant. They had angered a strong man. Everyone was dumbfounded. The situation had developed to such a state that they had never thought of it before. At this point, they didn't dare to breathe out, and just quietly watched from the sidelines, their hearts filled with a different kind of shock, as they were also worried that they would be killed. You are all from the Sacred Fire School, right? Chen Xiang's eyes flashed with killing intent. Without waiting for the old men to reply, he flew over, wielded the hammer and smashed them one by one, until the ground was covered in blood. The experts of the Sacred Fire School were all annihilated. Many of the spectators started to tremble, because the killing intent coming out from Chen Xiang's body was extremely terrifying, adding on to the strong stench of blood here. Chen Xiang brought the youth, whose face was filled with shock, to the iron door, and punched it open. All of you can leave. This shop is now mine. Chen Xiang said coldly, and the group of people immediately left. As for the disciples of the other Sacred Fire School's in the shop, after they found out that Yang Wushuang and the other elders had all been killed, they also escaped. He did not want to die, even daring to kill Yang Wushuang. Change your appearance and take these spar away from Sacred Yen City. The blade and spar that Chen Xiang gave to the youth was enough for him to teleport away. Take him down and leave quickly. Chen Xiang saw that the youth was standing there in a daze, and said that, his voice contained an irresistible dignity, causing the youth to have no choice but to take those items. Then, he simply changed his appearance and left through an empty back door. After that, Chen Xiang stored everything in the shop into his own storage bag. On the second and third floors, in the shelves, were all relatively valuable things. Chen Xiang unceremoniously took them away. He would be bringing them to the divine weapon's heavenly country in the future. He had killed the son of leader, as well as killed a few powerful clan elders. Even if he had obtained this shop, he could not continue to operate it, as it would only bring about trouble. After plundering the place, he set fire to it and changed his appearance. Then, he left the city from the transmission array. As one of the more powerful forces under the Fire Divine Palace, the Sacred Fire School had already lost so many important people, yet they were still humiliated in front of their own doorsteps, losing a lot of face, and they didn't even know who did it. All they knew was that this was a master refiner, and the weapon he used was a very powerful hammer which could instantly shatter a ninth-phase treasure. There were a lot of witnesses at that time, so after the news spread out, everyone knew that Sacred Fire School was asking for it. This was exactly what Chen Xiang wanted. Who told the Sacred Fire School to always be hostile towards the Divine Weapon Kingdom, and even repeatedly requested the strongest power of the Fire Divine Palace to wipe out the experts from the Divine Weapon sect. This was simply courting death. After the Fire Divine Palace found out about the incident in the Sacred Fire School, he immediately sent people to investigate. It was because they knew that the person who was messing around in the underground palace and killing the Ice Emperor was a guy with a black hammer. Now that they had gone to the Sacred Fire School to cause trouble, it was obvious that they were going against the Fire Divine Palace. After the Fire Divine Palace found out about the incident in the Sacred Fire School, he immediately sent people to investigate. It was because they knew that the person who was messing around in the underground palace and killing the Ice Emperor was a guy with a black hammer. Now that they had gone to the Sacred Fire School to cause trouble, it was obvious that they were going against the Fire Divine Palace. At this critical juncture, the sudden appearance of an expert opposing the Fire Divine Palace put a lot of pressure on the Fire Divine Palace. Especially since such a person could kill the Ice Emperor and exterminate that underground palace by himself. Chen Xiang was about to be sealed for 10 years, and the plan to attack Chen Martial Continent had always been carried out. In these 9 years, the Fire Divine Palace had always been increasing his own strength, consuming a lot of resources, all in order to make it easier for them to attack the Chen Martial Continent. But now, a mysterious rancor had appeared suddenly, making them wonder if he was the mysterious great clan elder from Dragon's Subduing School. The Hall Master of the Fire Divine Palace was a immortal king. If it wasn't anything major, he wouldn't want to intervene, because if this matter were to spread to the Heaven Realm, it wouldn't be a glorious thing. Thus, when they were attacking the Chen Martial Continent, he didn't want to intervene, but at the moment, he had to reconsider. After Chen Xiang left Sacred Yen City, he wandered around in other cities in order to gather information on Sacred Fire School. Originally, he planned to make a trip to Sacred Fire Mountain, but after knowing that there were mysterious experts in the Sacred Fire Mountain, he didn't dare to act rashly. The person that the Sacred Fire School offended was very strong, and it was said that he killed that Yang Wushuang in 2 moves. Back then at the artifact forging assembly, this Yang Wushuang was really COCKY, but I didn't expect him to die so miserably. The old ancestor of the Sacred Fire School has already come out. It is said that this old fellow was once an important figure in the Fire Divine Palace. He is a powerful old ghost with fire soul. So what if they come out? They don't even know each other's names. A shop was destroyed by them in such a carefree manner. They haven't even found a single hair on the other person's head yet. Of course, the old ancestor of the Sacred Fire School came out to protect the Sacred Fire School. That person has even killed Yang Wushuang, so he is definitely not afraid of the Sacred Fire School. Maybe that day when he was in a bad mood, he will go to the Sacred Fire School and cause a ruckus and destroy the entire Sacred Fire School. The nearby cities were all managed by the Sacred Fire School, with the Sacred Fire School as the center. However, the Sacred Fire School had always been an extremely tyrannical city, and many people had a bad impression of it, especially the shops in the Sacred Fire School. If not for the people who were related to the Sacred Fire School going there, they would have been scammed to death. In the past few days, Chen Xiang had heard news that piqued his interest. It was that Fire Divine Palace had found an extremely large and unique profound being in the profound cold ancient realm. First, the profound being could not be placed inside the storage magic treasure. Second, the profound being was very difficult to break through, since it was found in the profound cold ancient realm. Then the immortal king that was staying in the profound ice city must have made a move before, but he could not break through it. Third, the special profound being was not like the other profound being, who could release cold air, but that was without a doubt. In order to break open this piece of profound being, the experts of Fire Divine Palace used many different methods. In the end, they decided to transport it to the Sacred Fire Mountain, and use the flame inside the Sacred Fire Mountain's powerful volcanic crater to see if they could melt that piece of profound being. Chen Xiang was extremely interested in profound being, especially this kind of special profound being. Furthermore, he had always planned to go to the Sacred Fire Mountain to have a look, and after hearing the news, he immediately set off for the Sacred Fire Mountain. It was said that the profound being was the size of a house, and was transported all the way from profound cold ancient realm. Chen Xiang returned to Sacred Yen City once again, and asked for more detailed information. Very quickly, he found out that many powers had sent a few elders over, and they were all invited by the Fire Divine Palace. He felt that the Fire Divine Palace was making use of this opportunity to gather the other powers that wanted to attack the Chen martial continent. Towards such a thing, Chen Xiang could not be absent. The fellow from Ghost Killing School is here as well. We saw a golden face ghost killer just now. This is really rare, even he has to give me face. As Chen Xiang was walking, he suddenly heard people talking. Ghost Killing School rarely appeared, especially those like them who had extremely high statuses in the Ghost Killing School. A golden face ghost killer has arrived, that's my wish. Chen Xiang laughed in her heart. She anxiously ordered Long Shui, allowing him to use her powerful abilities to track the whereabouts of Golden Face Ghost Killer. He's still in the city. This guy is very high profile. After he met a group of people, he had already moved into the Sacred Fire School's luxurious inn. Long Shui quickly found the Golden Face Ghost Killer. Chen Xiang immediately headed towards the inn. He planned to ambush the Golden Face Ghost Killer. He also wanted to have a taste of fighting against the powerful Sin in the dark. He transformed into a very small mosquito, flying into the inn. Entering the room, he saw the ghost killer sitting on the bed to rest. Although it looked like he was resting, Chen Xiang could feel that the Golden Face Ghost Killer was releasing very weak divine senses to investigate his surroundings. He was extremely cautious. However, he could not detect Chen Xiang, so it was normal for mosquitoes to fly in. Chen Xiang did not release any of his qi, so the Golden Face Ghost Killer did not sense it. Chen Xiang flew in front of the Golden Face Ghost Killer and released his extremely strong divine power, using the soul-absorbing devil spell on him from a distance. The sudden mental attack was something the Golden Face Ghost Killer did not expect, and he suffered heavy injuries in an instant. Chen Xiang had also revealed his original body, one hand pressing on the golden face ghost killer's head, as he searched through the memories in his mind. After obtaining the golden face ghost killer's memories, Chen Xiang knocked it out, took off its black clothes and golden mask, then transformed it into the same size and appearance as the golden face ghost killer. Of course, he could use the transformation techniques to create those masks, but he was worried that someone familiar with the golden face ghost killer would appear, so it would not be good if he was recognized then. With the golden face ghost killer's memories, Chen Xiang could impersonate this golden face ghost killer and sneak into the sacred fire mountain, and he could keep this golden face ghost killer, putting it into the square cauldron that he had just obtained. If this golden face ghost killer had any life pearls inside, they would definitely be discovered after he died. This was also the reason why Chen Xiang was so happy to have gotten the cauldron back then. From the memories, he knew that the Sacred Fire School would send someone to bring them to the Sacred Fire Mountain tomorrow. On the surface, the reason why they were invited was to help them deal with the gigantic Profound Being, but they were actually discussing about joining forces to attack the Chen Martial Continent secretly. This was just as Chen Xiang had guessed. Chen Xiang would definitely not let them succeed in this trip to the Sacred Fire Mountain, and would also check if that enormous Profound Being was really as the rumors said. If there were treasures inside, then he would also gain quite a lot on this trip. On the second day, the Sacred Fire Mountain sent someone to guide them to a huge S.H.I plus P that could fly. This S.H.I plus P had a very luxurious room and living room. On the second day, the Sacred Fire Mountain sent someone to guide them to a huge S.H.I plus P that could fly. This S.H.I plus P had a very luxurious room and living room. Although the items sold were of poor quality, the items they gave themselves were never vague. For example, this huge S.H.I plus P that could fly. Chen Xiang flew for an entire day before finally arriving at the place where he was supposed to be. The golden face ghost killer that he pretended to be was normally a quiet and taciturn person, so even if someone asked him a question, he could answer or not, and other people would not feel disgusted with him. Therefore, Chen Xiang also spoke very little. Standing on the deck of the giant S.H.I plus P, he could feel a wave of hot air salting him. In front of him was a huge volcano, with lava flowing within the volcano. Looking from afar, it looked like a gigantic lake of lava. Floating above the volcano was an island, and on this island were many buildings, such as the Sacred Fire School. This volcano is really strange. This fire essence should have come from the Earth's core. Cultivating here all year round is indeed a great help to those who cultivate fire, and in this environment, it's not difficult to nurture a fire soul. Su Meiyao said. Would the Fire Divine Palace not accept such a good place? Chen Xiang's heart skipped a beat as he suddenly thought of something. Bai Yu said what he was thinking in his heart and said, "This should be the Fire Divine Palace's headquarters. This floating island is not something that just anyone can create, and its defensive power is extremely strong. The Sacred Fire School exists and is on this island as well. The headquarters of the Fire Divine Palace should be hidden here as well, and all of this is to deceive people." The fact that the Fire Divine Palace controlled such a powerful volcano made Chen Xiang drool. In a sense, this unique volcano was equivalent to a dragon vein. Looks like I'll have to be careful in a bit, Chen Xiang thought, but he had previously heard from a few people that the Hall Master of the Fire Divine Palace would not come, and would instead guard that seal. Sealing Chen Xiang was something that most people on this S.H.I plus P would love to see. Now that there was an immortal king protecting them, they felt that when the time was right, they could peacefully attack Chen Martial Continent. In the Alliance, the Ghost Killing School held an important position because at that time, assassinating the experts from various powers in the Chen Martial Continent was extremely important. If the immortal king did not intervene, then in order to successfully attack the Chen Martial continent, one would have to rely on the Golden Face Ghost Killer inside the Ghost Killing School. And the Golden Face Ghost Killer that Chen Xiang was impersonating as right now was the second in command of the Ghost Killing School. Above him was the Red Face Ghost Killer, the leader of the Ghost Killing School. From the memories of the current second manager, Chen Xiang knew that the Red Face Ghost Killer never spoke, nor did he send any sound transmissions, but only sent messages through note. As a result, no one had heard his voice, and no one knew whether or not he had changed into a different leader over the years, but he was definitely powerful. The giant SHI+P landed and everyone boarded the small island floating above the giant volcano's crater. The people that came were all powerful experts, so they could adapt to the intense heat. They soon saw the gigantic profound Bing, which was as big as a house. Although this profound Bing did not emit the intense cold chi, it still felt cool and refres. HI+ing standing near the gigantic profound Bing. The masked Chen Xiang was currently using the Chaos Divine Eye to carefully observe this gigantic profound Bing. This profound Bing was the biggest he had ever seen. It was over 1,000 meters long and its shape was irregular, but without a doubt it was a profound Bing. Is there something inside? Long Shui asked. It's a huge thing, but I'm not sure yet. If I can open the Chaos Divine Eye, I might be able to see it clearly. Chen Xiang's voice carried a trace of shock. There was actually something inside this enormous profound Bing, and it was very huge as well. The things inside the profound Bing were not ordinary. Although the quality of this piece of profound Bing was not of the high quality, it did not mean that the things inside were ordinary. Something very big. What could it be? Could it be a living giant beast? Su Meiyao asked in surprise. I'm not sure, I don't feel any signs of life, and this profound Bing is very strong. Breaking it is not easy. The immortal king has already fought. I can feel the old man's chi, but he can't do anything to this profound Bing. Chen Xiang also wanted to know what exactly was frozen inside this profound Bing. The leader from the Sacred Fire School was here. His name was Yang Jiutao. He was an old man dressed in fiery red robes, with white eyebrows and white beard. He had just lost his son, and was not in a good mood. Yang Jiutao saw that everyone was interested in this gigantic profound Bing, so he said, "The Fire Divine Palace's palace master said, there must be something inside, but it cannot be broken. If everyone does not have a good idea, you can only push this profound Bing into the crater of the volcano, and see if it can be melted away." Chen Xiang felt that this was not appropriate. He was worried that the good stuff inside would be affected, but he did not have any good methods right now. If he did not impersonate the Golden Face Ghost Killer, and if it was not because of this environment, he would definitely have that hammer of G. O. D to try and break it apart. If we push it down, if there is any spiritual medicine inside, it will be destroyed. A person said. But there's nothing we can do about it, we have to see if there's anything inside. Could it be that even the palace master can't do anything to this profound Bing? Yang Jiutao shook his head. If there was some powerful divine weapon, it might be able to break through it, and the green dragon demon-slain broadsword might be able to, but unfortunately, it is in Chen Xiang's hands, and Chen Xiang is sealed by the Fire Divine Palace's hall master. A person sighed. Isn't your Sacred Fire School a very powerful sect for smithing? Don't tell me there aren't any divine weapons that you can take out? The one who asked was an elder of the devil race. Fire Divine Palace's hall master is the Heaven Realm's immortal king. Moreover, he has a powerful holy level dragon artifact. He used that thing and his powerful strength to no longer be able to break through the profound Bing. Our Sacred Fire School is merely a small sect. We can only take out a few immortal artifacts. It can't even compare to the Fire Divine Palace's holy level dragon artifact. The reason why Yang Jiutao revealed the power of the Hall Master was so that he could tell the people who were gathered here how strong the Fire Divine Palace was. As the immortal king of the Fire Divine Palace, he was sent here to rob the world by a powerful person. How could he not give a piece of this thing to the Hall Master?